Good morning. We'll call this April 7th meeting of the St. Johns County Board of County Commissioners into order, and we will go right to the roll call, please.
Chair Commissioner Clay Murphy.
Present.
Vice Chair Commissioner Ann Taylor.
Present.
Commissioner Christian Whitehurst.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah Arnold.
Present.
And Commissioner Krista Joseph.
Present.
Thank you so much. If you will, please rise as we invite Pastor Jason Cullum from Christ Church for the invocation.
Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this new day, a new day that is filled with new promises. And so give us the ears to hear you speak those promises to us. Give us the eyes to be able to see those promises at work. Give us the feet to step into those promises and the hands to be active and participate in those promises. We thank you so much for the country we live in and the freedoms that we enjoy. We pray for the men and women who are serving around the world right now. We pray for those who are in harm's way. Would you please bring them home to their families safely? We thank you so much for this incredible county that you've given us, that you've entrusted to us. It is truly a little slice of heaven on earth. And so I pray that you would help us as residents to steward this community well. I pray for our chief stewards, our commissioners who are here today to conduct the business. We pray for wisdom as they make decisions, as they guide us forward into this next season of this incredible county. We thank you so much for this rain. The word of God says that it is your favor. And so we thank you for your favor here today. We pray it over this meeting. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much. Please remain standing as we invite Shauna Holton, United States Navy Petty Officer First Class, to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you.
All right, we have two proclamations this morning. We will start with the proclamation recognizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Good morning, everyone. We have quite a full house today. It's my honor on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners to present this proclamation recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Now, Kelly Franklin, I see the team coming up already. Shayna, would you please read the proclamation into the record?
A proclamation by the Board of County Commissioners, St. Johns County, Florida. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is observed to bring attention to the importance of safety, respect, and well-being within our community, recognizing that experiences involving unwanted or harmful behavior can have lasting impacts on individuals, families, and public health throughout St. Johns County. And whereas incidents involving sexual assault, including unwanted contact or harassment, affect individuals of all ages and backgrounds, and research shows that many people experience such behavior at some point in their lives, underscoring the importance of prevention, education, and support. And whereas through leadership, education, and collaboration, communities can reduce incidents of sexual misconduct by promoting awareness, encouraging respectful behavior, supporting accountability, and fostering environments where individuals feel safe and valued. And whereas the Betty Griffin Center supports the efforts of national, state, and local partners, as well as the residents of St. Johns County, to engage in meaningful dialogue and outreach focused on prevention education, access to supportive services, and community-wide cooperation to address and reduce sexual misconduct. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of St. Johns County, Florida, that April 2026 be designated as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, passed and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners of St. Johns County, Florida, this 7th day of April, 2026.
Thank you so much, County Commissioners, for recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We have many activities planned this month to raise awareness, but two I'd like to mention. We will be on April 13th with Flagler College for Take Back the Night. And on April 17th, we will be joining Lauren's Walk. It's a statewide walk to raise awareness for Sexual Assault Awareness Month that will be coming through St. Johns County on April 17th. We will start at 9:30. Please join us if you're able. And then the walk ends towards the end of the month in Tallahassee, just again to raise awareness. There's been a lot of talk in the media lately about victims of sexual violence, especially minors, and how they have not received justice, and that can be very impactful to survivors that are in our community here. So we want you to know that we are here for you, to support you, and please reach out. Our helpline is 24/7. It's 904-824-1555. And our website has information of how to contact us and just more information, resources, and that is bettygriffincenter.org. There are things that you can do this month to take action, and we ask that you do these things. One, we ask that you start by believe survivors. Believing them is a step in the right direction, and that helps support them. Please support Betty Griffin and our mission to support survivors. And if you are able, we can always use volunteers. So again, thank you, commissioners, for supporting us during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Item 2, proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month. Commissioner Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. It is my honor on behalf of the board to invite Shauna Novak and her team up to recognize April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And what a special month to recognize this, and it should never hurt to be a child.
A proclamation by the Board of County Commissioners, St. Johns County, Florida. Whereas National Child Abuse Prevention Month will be recognized throughout the United States during April 2026. And whereas child maltreatment occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and don't know how to cope. The majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable in an engaged and supportive community. And whereas child abuse and neglect not only directly harm children, but also increase the likelihood of future criminal behavior, substance abuse, health problems, and risky behavior, child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure each family has the support they need to raise their children in a healthy environment. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among mental health providers, social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community, all citizens should become involved in supporting families in raising their children in a safe, nurturing environment. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of St. Johns County, Florida, that April 2026 be designated as Child Abuse Prevention Month, calling all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to prevent child abuse, thereby strengthening our local communities. Passed and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners of St. Johns County, Florida, this 7th day of April, 2026.
Of course, I'm going to invite Shauna to come up, but I just want to recognize what an amazing team and what a huge team you have. God bless each and every one of you for all you do.
Good morning, and thank you, commissioners, for supporting the work that we do here. Also, I'd like to thank administration for your continued support. The county's been doing this work for over 24 years now. Couldn't do it without the team behind us. I am going to turn it over to our partners with the Department of Children and Families. That's who we contract with. And Jesse Boylston, if you'd like to come say a few words on behalf of the department.
Good morning, and thank you for being here today. Each April, communities across Florida come together to recognize Child Abuse Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness and reaffirm our shared commitment to supporting children and strengthening families. This work does not happen in isolation. It happens through strong partnerships with state and local partners, faith partners, community-based care partners, service providers, educators, law enforcement, and local leaders who are all committed to helping families succeed. Together, through partnership and shared responsibility, we can help ensure that every child grows up in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. Thank you all for being a part of this important effort.
Okay, we want to recognize the special room, so everyone gather in nice and close. Come on in. We'll need at least 3 rows, so stacking behind your friends and family. Come on in, nice and tight. Everyone likes everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Everyone right here, please.
You can't see me, I can't see you, all right? So if someone's in front of you, just shift to the right or left.
Right.
Right in front of somebody. Oops. Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. Ready, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the proclamations.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the proclamations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Deletions to the consent agenda. Commissioner Arnold? Oh, sorry. You're recognized.
I have none.
Have none? Okay. Commissioner Joseph?
Yes, I'd like to poll number 2, please.
To consent agenda, item number 2 will be pulled and be placed in line as number 10.
Thank
Is
you,
that
sir.
right?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, number 2. Okay. Commissioner Whitehurst?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Taylor?
I have none.
And I have none.
And Mr. Chair, so there is a red folder item for item consent agenda item number 13.
Okay.
There's additional information that was provided to support that item.
Red folder item number 13. Do we need to just be aware of this, or do we need to pull it? Do we need to amend it?
Yeah, you need to amend it off of the consent agenda, and it would come onto the regular agenda. Any change to any of the material on a consent agenda item requires.
All right, we'll also remove consent agenda item number 13 and make it a number 11. All right. Motion to, do we need a motion for an approval of the consent agenda then? I guess we do. As amended, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll agree by saying aye.
Aye.
Or yes.
Public comment.
We need to hear public comment.
Public comment, right? We need public comment on the agenda items. Thank you.
Sure. At this time, we will take public comment for these agenda items. If you have a comment, please come up. Okay, seeing none, we will close that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Go, that passes unanimously. We'll move to additions or deletions to the regular agenda. Commissioner Arnold?
I have none.
We have none. Commissioner Joseph?
I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Whitehurst?
None, Mr. Chair.
And Commissioner Taylor?
And I have none.
None. Okay, let's go to, do we need a vote for approval of the regular agenda? Okay. I need a motion for approval of the regular agenda.
I'll make that.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. And all those in favor of the regular agenda say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, we have none, so now we're going to move right to public comment. Before we get started with the public comment, I just want to remind everybody that we have a full house. So as we start public comment, we have 3 different positions up front. Please line up and let's let everybody be heard. And so everybody gets a turn. So let's move on up and let's make this orderly and efficient for us. Thank you.
Of course. At this time, the board will hear general public comment on matters that are not scheduled for action on today's agenda. When addressing the board, please come to one of the 3 podiums and state your name and address. Each person will be provided 3 minutes to speak, and we ask that you speak directly into the microphone. Speakers will comply with the board's rules of civility and decorum. Speakers may not demand an immediate response from the board. Members of the audience will refrain from any disruptive demonstration or approval or disapproval of any comments. Finally, any speaker that would like to present materials, please utilize the center podium. Paper materials may be placed on the X for our overhead camera to display, and a laptop will also be set up for USB presentations. After presenting, please provide the materials to the staff of the clerk of court and be entered into public comment. Good morning.
Good morning. Sasha Martin, 133 Coastal Hollow Circle. Our county has a broken system that is not effectively planning ahead for what will actually happen in our future. Because of increased traffic, residents cannot often leave their driveways. They have to make doctor appointments early morning. They fear they won't be able to call an ambulance and will die instead. The county is not able to control nor benefit from all short-term rentals, resulting in county residents suffering a lower quality of life. Our growth management department is not meaningfully able to manage growth. Why? Where there's a will, there should be a way. Our code enforcement program does not work. It is not responsive or available with tiny staff and little authority. They don't work hours when violations occur most. Many of our short-term rental businesses do not register as business and do not provide tax income resulting from their profitability. Our residential streets now have a majority of short-term rental dwellings. Why did this happen? As a result of what these renters cause, the county is faced with additional costs and no corresponding additional revenues. Extra infrastructure needed, additional deputies for traffic control and violations of laws. A St. John's Citizen story on March 30 reported trash for a greater number of adult transitory occupants in the same building means more trucks, overtime, large piles, slower collection, extra tips, and special equipment. Let's go back to traditional planning practices which can save taxpayer dollars and bring peace to homeowners. Homeowners are your taxpayers. They are suffering from sleep-preventing noise, the landscape of many cars parked on the lawn across the street, inability to get out of their driveways, do errands or buy groceries when they want to. A USA story on April 4th reported emergency operations are not able to sufficiently provide short-term renters with emergency alerts for storms, hazards, other safety concerns. Our residents' ability to evacuate is being severely affected. Where there's a will on the part of our governing body, there should be a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next. Good morning.
Good morning. Fran Windler, 137 Morgan Avenue, full-time resident. Good morning, commissioners. I stand here representing the residents of Volano Beach to South Ponte Vedra stretch. We are not just witnessing growth, we are witnessing systemic failure in county oversight that is actively compromising our safety and our infrastructure and our quality of life. Our message is simple. Stop waiting for a catastrophe to happen and start planning for the future you are currently approving. Our infrastructure is at a breaking point. The bridge bottleneck, we are facing impossible evacuation problem. How do you evacuate an additional 274 homes, minimum of 500 cars, over a single bridge on a 2-lane highway while emergency vehicles are trying to head in the opposite direction? We need a commitment to a new bridge between Ponte Vedra and Volano to divert the traffic before the next major storm. Public safety, we have already seen 4 pedestrian deaths on A1A. How many more are acceptable? We see zero enforcement of traffic violations, people parking on bike lanes on A1A, a complete lack of law enforcement presence on the Peanut when people are running red lights. Utility and waste. Our utility capacity is stretched to the limit, yet we continue to approve density. We are seeing excessive garbage from short-term rentals and the flood of 6-month renters and who can actually become Florida residents to avoid state taxes while paying zero property tax and stretching our schools. Lack of oversight. The county seems to have no idea of what actually is happening on build sites. Permitting and PUD violations, developers like DLP are currently operating with free rein. Where is the penalty for DLP cutting down protected vegetations that legally are required to be retained? Why are current permitting requirements not being enforced? The RV loophole. We need clarity today. What is the legal distinction between park home and the RV in our current parks? Are these units deeded? If zoning is handled at the county level, why is the county refusing to enforce the rules on these sites? Flooding, new developments are being built on top of existing flood zones, pushing water into existing neighborhoods. We are creating a man-made disaster. The ask in conclusion, we are tired of contacting the county with violations only to receive no action. We demand the master plan for the A1A stretch for Volano to South Ponte Vedra. If the master plan of growth doesn't exist, we demand moratorium on new approvals until one is drafted that accounts for emergency services, police, and ambulances. The county it's under your control. Do not wait for the worst to happen. Plan our survival, make it happen. Your jobs count on it.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kristen Sheridan, and I live at 129 Kingston Drive. I am here today to ask for accountability of our county and for your help in improving the safety of Volano and North Beach. Our community is experiencing rapid change, and unfortunately, the infrastructure and enforcement have not kept up with the pace of development and visitation. We face excessive speeding on a daily basis. Vehicles regularly travel far too fast through residential areas and along roads that lead to the beach access points. These streets are used by family, children, cyclists, and pedestrians, yet the drivers often treat them like a high-speed corridor instead of neighborhood roads, creating an unsafe environment for both residents and visitors. Another major issue is parking. Vehicles are frequently parked in areas that are not designated for parking, especially along already narrow roadways and over bike lanes. When cars line both sides of these streets, the roadways become dangerously tight, creating a serious problem for emergency vehicles. Fire trucks, ambulances, and other first responders not being able to pass through quickly or sometimes at all. In an emergency, seconds matter. If an ambulance or a fire truck cannot get through because the roads have been narrowed by illegal or unmanaged parking, lives are put at risk. We do not have enough police or first responders for the volume of people here now, not even taking into account weekends or holidays. At the same time, our community is dealing with increasing overdevelopment. We are seeing projects move forward that add density and traffic without the infrastructure improvements necessary to support them. In particular, the RV park currently being built that is not following the approved PUD that was originally agreed upon. There has not been any clarification of what actually is being built, but every day they keep moving forward. There has not been any information given regarding an emergency evacuation plan for the park or for the residents who will need to leave at the same time. How will our roads accommodate this? When developments move forward without adhering to the conditions that they were approved, it erodes the trust and places an even greater strain on an already stressed community. Increased traffic, limited parking, narrow roads only compound the safety concerns we already are facing. The residents of Volano and North Beach are simply asking for accountability, enforcement of the rules already in place, and the thoughtful consideration of the safety impacts these decisions create. Would you please commit today to bring the RV park back to the commission for review and clarification and enforcement? We love our community and we want it to remain a safe place for residents and visitors, but safety, infrastructure, and accountability must come first. We deserve it. As the saying goes, public safety is the first duty of government. Right now, our community does not feel protected. Please help us restore that trust and ensure the growth of our community never comes at the expense of residents or visitors. Our community deserves safe roads, clear accountability, and a leadership that puts public safety first. Thank you for your time and for hearing the concerns of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Mary Sullivan, 405 15th Street, and I have an overhead here. Does it need to be shown? And could you restart the time so that you can see it? Thank you. Okay. This sums up, went on your website and looked at your vision for our county and the priorities. I went ahead and looked at some of the things that have been bothering all the residents in the community of Volano and North Beach. And it applies to almost any community in this county due to the overgrowth and stopping everything until we breathe and get our heads straight to figure out what's going on. Everyone here is going to be talking about or has already talked about some of the key factors that are listed here for some of our priorities and stuff. But I'm going to focus on the safety. We just completed and spent a fortune on all these beautiful new parks along A1A, okay? The safety factor, overflow of parking, no one's monitoring it. If there was an emergency and rescue first responders needed to get into those, could not happen. The North Beach Park, people are parking on the right of way, people are parking on those streets. You can barely get in and out of that park to do it. The Salem Park, I counted 35 cars the other day, Saturday morning before the traffic even got busy. 35 cars parked on the right of way on the bike path. I couldn't even ride my bike. Weekends, I put my car in the park and underneath the house. I want to ride my bike. I can't even ride my bike because all the parking, people are parking anywhere they want. There's no one finding them. There's no one towing them. There's money to be made. The county's looking for resources. Put people out there to work to help us to do it. I went down to the Nice house, overflow parking. Surfside, overflow parking. People are just parking everywhere. They feel, I'm here, I'm gonna go to the beach, I'm gonna find a space to park. But there's safety involved. People can't see crossing among all the cars. People can't they call 911 for rescue. Doesn't do any good having the 911 address there because the rescue can't even get into those places because of all the parking that's there. So all of these things that are listed here, community trust, community well-being, economic prosperity, where is some of the bed tax monies why aren't some of our bed tax monies that are coming into the Volano area, why aren't those being used for extra resources? You've got 4,000 people parking on the beach, Porpoise Point. 2 bathrooms for 4,000 people? What about the quality of the water that's out there from people using the beach as their restroom? What about overflow? You have 1 or 2 recycle bins. Why can't some of the bed tax money and why can't some of the other monies that are coming into that area be used?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is John McQuaid. I reside at 3385 Coastal Highway. It's the seaside of Volano condominiums adjacent to the RV park, small park homes project. I'm speaking as a resident of SOV, not for the condominium homeowner association or board members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I've been a homeowner in Volano Beach for approximately 9 years. I've seen enormous growth in Volano Beach at that time in my immediate area. Masalan Park was added, and now development of the property to our north. I'm not against growth and development of land. Volano Beach, an incredible community and beautiful place to live. What I'm concerned with is unsustainable overdevelopment of the area. I feel the RV resort that was approved by you folks was a reasonable addition to the community, not the unauthorized tiny home changes that were made. The property was an RV resort up until 2005. A Seaside of Alano homeowner who had lived there since 1983 is quite familiar with the previous RV resort and stated they were great neighbors, absolutely prefers it over horizontal home development. I surveyed my 26 resident units from my community. Overwhelming majority prefer a traditional RV resort. I've attended numerous meetings, reviewed the options, and an RV resort that was approved several years ago is the best choice. Building horizontal homes is an eyesore, environmental disaster, and has Airbnb and VRBO written all over it. The flooding in my development will be catastrophic. We already had floodwaters on our property when the dirt was delivered and grading was performed by this project next door. Our buildings shook terribly and still do as of yesterday. Dump trucks constant up and down that road. It is overdevelopment. The impact on the environment will be immense and disturb the fragile wildlife. My safety is also not being considered. I am concerned with these horizontal homes during a hurricane or just a major storm. Will they detach from their tie downs, float into my condominiums, or block my evacuation route? Did anyone consider the evacuation plan onto the mainland? I constantly hear complaints on social media from neighbors in Volano Beach and North Beach about short-term rentals. Please consider the concerns of the residents of Seaside of Volano condominiums and the impact on our slice of paradise. We've been there since 1983. We've been caring stewards of the land. We ask for your help in preventing overdevelopment in our neighborhood. I appreciate your time. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
My name is Patty Slauson. I live at 2960 Coastal Highway in Volano. While I've been waiting for my turn, I looked up and it says, public comment. Address matters that may reasonably need the attention of the board. Yes, something that definitely needs the attention of the board, and that is the RV park project being currently built by DLP Capital on Coastal Highway in Volano. This project was originally approved several years ago as a natural environment campground. Since then, the developer has been proceeding without much accountability and advertising something other than a natural environment campground. It seems the developer is working on a bait and switch. I ask the commissioners to heighten scrutiny of this project. Make sure it complies with the original approved plan, all county codes, and all safety and environmental safeguards. Commissioners, we, the community, we depend on you to carefully watch what's going on, and if incorrect things are happening, we depend on you to address it on our behalf.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is John Purdy. I'm the store manager at 55 A Way, the public supermarket there. Just wanted to highlight some of the ongoing traffic safety concerns affecting associates and citizens in the community. The beach town's increased tourism, local growth, continue to intensify congestion, particularly during peak hours, weekends, and holidays. Some examples of the risk situations: emergency vehicles having access to be able to get into the parking lot, to be able to move around with all the congestion that we have. Tensions in the parking lot arise with impatient customers, citizens, associates trying to gather carts, consistently being yelled at. Phone calls to the businesses asking us to do something about the traffic, asking us to move. It's an ongoing issue that definitely needs your attention. I get complaints every single day from customers thinking that it's Publix's fault, asking what can we do about this. Just last weekend, we had altercation in the parking lot. The associates were out there. They had a fight, altercation. The cops were called. They could not even get to the plaza because of the congestion. They had to park at the Volano Bridge and walk and run over to the scene to address the situation. These concerns need your immediate attention. And in closing, I invite you to come any given weekend to the peak hours during the season, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Wait in that parking lot, come and get a Publix sub, and see how long it takes you to leave that parking lot and into that parking lot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Gayla Poitras. I live at 144 Kingston Drive, and I'm here this morning to say I really love the Volano area. I've enjoyed living here for 8 years now, and there's been a lot of change during that 8 years. And I understand that development is just part of life in most places, especially if you live somewhere as great as the St. Johns County. I do feel like we need to definitely be more thoughtful and considerate about the development that's happening, and to really monitor each step of the process to make sure that, as you know, my favorite boss would always say, inspect what you expect. If we've set the expectation of a certain PUD for a property, then that needs to be inspected at each step along in the process to make sure that what was approved is what's happening. And specifically, you know, I'm going to keep on with this, the RV park concern. I drive past it almost every single day. And there's obviously, somebody's got a plan for what's going on there, because there's something happening every single day. And I feel like the information is not being distributed to the residents of St. Johns County. We, you know, don't have a clear picture of what's supposed to be happening, or we think we know what's supposed to be happening because we can look at documents of as far as what's been approved, but what we're seeing isn't matching what we have been presented as what's been approved. And I'm just asking that there's a little more due diligence in place to make sure that we all have a safe place to live. We all have a safe plan for when, not if, when a hurricane evacuation needs to happen, and to make sure that all of our residents and visitors have the same consideration for safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good
Hello.
morning.
My name is Lisa Layton, and I live at 211 17th Street, and I would like to address regarding the RV park model home project that is by the DLP developers in Volano, which is located between the seaside of Volano Townhomes and the Boutique Hotel, particularly regarding the government, which is the county's accountability with this project and the lack of transparency for this project. It was to be a natural environment RV park. However, it has been allowed to proceed outside of the PUD. We already have an RV park that is beautiful, and it's nestled in its natural environment just north. And this is the type of project that we actually expected, and it has never been an issue. You wouldn't even know it was there. So since what we're getting now is not what we expected, my question is why? Was there an environmental impact study conducted, particularly regarding flooding to the surrounding area? The entire land for this development was clear cut from the intercoastal to A1A, and the land, the elevation, was significantly raised with fill dirt. Is there a drainage plan? This development will affect traffic and safety of pedestrians crossing the street. Where is this plan? And then what about evacuation? This is a barrier island, and evacuation affects all of us since this is a one-way in and out, a single road. We as a community should have answers and access to the plans and studies done regarding drainage, traffic, and why permitting was allowed outside of the scope of the PUD. Specifically, if we as a community do not know what their plans are, how can we adjust our plans regarding problems with flooding, evacuation? We all know that raising the elevation will impact the surrounding residences because the water has to go somewhere. Therefore, we just ask you, as the board, that transparency and accountability for this project is essential to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. My name is Denise Velser. I live at 615 19th Street out on North Beach, and I've been out there 50 years. So I was a student here. Of course, I have safety concerns for, number one, my family, my fellow residents, the other fellow residents, and our visitors too. So it's all. So here's the reality where we live. We have limited land. We only have 2 lanes on A1A, 1 bridge, and as everyone is sharing with you, horrific traffic problems that only increase year to year. And like the gentleman was saying about Publix, it literally can take you, no exaggeration, 1 hour to get out of Publix parking on the weekends, holidays, and sometimes even a normal day, just a busy day. But my main concern today is the massive and really mysterious oceanfront RV project, that DLP project for the Capital Partners. It just, myself, my neighbors, we talk about this. We're highly suspicious as what was noted to be an RV park, which we assumed was going to happen. And now it appears the developer has something very different in mind, okay? It is quite obvious when looking at the property and visually noting the massive foundations, this is a much bigger project. My current understanding, it may be like horizontal hotel, which is a new concept for myself. But my understanding is that potentially it's going to bring in even more people and vehicles and put enormous strain on an already very stressed A1A traffic and our whole system, our public, our water system and utilities. High-density projects like this directly affect our safety, particularly with regards to hurricane evacuation and general transportation, emergency vehicles. We have drownings too. How are they going to get there? And families in need of immediate medical and safety issues. I feel continued approval of high-density developments on Volano and North Beach is a reckless gamble with, number one, human life, our water, sewer, and road system. As we know it already operating, it's already operating beyond its capacity.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Laura Winston. I live at 1905 Windjammer Lane in North Beach, and I want to share with you my concerns about bike safety, both as a bike rider and as a car driver. I hoped when we moved to North Beach 3 years ago that I'd ride my bike south into Volano and north into the GTM, but there is too much traffic moving much too quickly for me to feel safe. I limit my bike riding to a short stretch from my home to the gym at the Ocean Club, and even going that short distance, I've had a couple of close calls with speeding drivers, typically at the end of a kind of long backed up chain towards the end, feeling very stressed and also not being able to see clearly what lies ahead. With the growth in Volano and North Beach's population, I ask you to consider lowering the speed limits on A1A as it runs along residential neighborhoods in North Beach. I also worry about bikers when driving my car along A1A. With the recent warm weather, and other people have talked about this, beach parking lots have been filled to capacity. The overflow cars are parking in the bike lane, pushing bicyclists into the car lane. This is particularly unsafe for bicyclists traveling in small groups, where the warm weather has also brought out steady and heavy two-way car traffic. These are the ingredients for accidents. I urge you to post signs prohibiting parking along A1A and to enforce this policy. Thank you for your consideration of ways to increase bike safety in North Beach and Volano for bike riders, for car drivers, for all of us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Rob Bruno. I live at 1905 Windjammer Lane in North Beach, Volano. During the invocation, it was stated that St. Johns County is a slice of heaven. And indeed, if you've ever been to Volano, you would know that that's true. I don't have any prepared notes because I'm really just here to provide my support in numbers of the people in white here that have objections around what's going on in Volano Beach. I moved in 2023 to a place that I thought was spectacular, and it continues to be. And in this period of time, in the small microcosm of the place where I live, nearly half of our residencies are short-term rentals. With those short-term rentals come many people, many children, and many cars. As you've heard from many of the people who have more, can better back up with facts than what I have to say, that traffic and those people are creating hazards along the roads in Volano. So I come to you with a question. How will you fulfill your responsibility as a board in St. Johns County to protect the people that live on Volano without adequate and enforceable rules and regulations around short-term rentals and traffic? And I leave you with that question and that plea because I think, as you can see today by the many people in white, that we have a problem on Volano, and we have a problem on that slice of heaven. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Debbie Dickinson. I'm the president of North Beach Community Alliance. I'm with the good guys wearing white, and my address is 413 16th Street. I'm here to ask you to please bring the project at 3450 Coastal Highway, also known as the former RV park, also known as the trailer park in Volano development. We have enough evidence to substantiate this project coming back to you for BOCC to be on the agenda, not just public comment as we have done multiple times. Some of those facts include the fact that NBCA hired an attorney, a land development expert in the state of Florida, Attorney Ralph Brooks. He emphasizes that SJC is well within its legal right to demand to know what the building plans are and that this project go back to the Board of County Commissioners because the PUD issued to the former owners is not what is being fulfilled by the current developers. Mr. Brooks also noted that the PUD limits impervious square footage to 35,000 square feet. Attorney West for the county said that is for the buildings, and she is absolutely correct. The existing PUD does not allow additional square footage for park models. It doesn't mention park models, though the developer has. Which further underscores the fact that this was not the project permitted by the BOCC. Additionally, Section 2.0327 of the Florida Administrative Code requires that park models remaining in any one location more than 45 days be inspected for tie downs. Any park model remaining in place for 180 days is classified as a structure, therefore would be included in the 35,000 square foot limit for impervious surfaces. Also, any park model remaining in place for more than 180 days is fully subject to FEMA elevation standards, full building code inspection, and the issuance of occupants of certificates. Where is St. Johns County? Having unchecked development in an area that's already at a crisis level is completely unacceptable. But yet, whenever we ask what's being built there, what are the plans, where is the county holding accountability, the answer that we have gotten multiple times in writing and in person from the county is, we don't have a clue, and we may not for 2 years. That is completely unacceptable. We need for you to bring this back under your authority. I have more evidence, glad to supply it to you in writing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Cliff Dickinson. I live at 413 16th Street. I've always been told that if you fail to plan, you fail to plan. Similar to me writing this speech, I guess. I have a number of safety concerns. I've got them in bullet points here, and they're going to reiterate many of the concerns you've already heard. But if we use the example from February 19th of this year, the traffic was so bad that it was impossible to move around within Volano and North Beach. The STRs are taking over our neighborhoods. We once had a unique home neighborhood that was families were living in, and now we have STRs that are cookie cutter, little boxes, single car garages, not able to support today's families, and with cars parked everywhere. And with just one quick example, personally, we had one across the street from us not long ago. 7 men rented it. They went out for a booze cruise that afternoon. That one of their members was so drunk, they brought him back home and put him to bed. Then they left and went back bar hopping. A few minutes later, or a little while later, this drunk entered our house and a neighbor's house across the street. My granddaughter was there. I'm so glad I wasn't there, because I probably would be in very big trouble right now. Anyway, that's a sidebar. We need to work on our bike lane maintenance. These bicycles, it terrifies me to drive by them on the bike lanes. They are struggling to get by. It's not just from cars parked there. The sand is coming off of the hills beside it, and they have nowhere to go. There's trash cans everywhere out there, and they get, as soon as they're empty, they get blown across those traffic lanes. We got 14,000 cars that cross the Volano Bridge every day. 36,000 cars on the beach last year at $10 a piece. We ought to be able to get some of that money shifted our way to help with some of these problems. I'd like to see the speed reduced on A1A. It had 2 safety benefits, very real and immediate safety benefits: pedestrian crossing, and then it would change the mapping algorithms for the maps for people going north or south. When they have to come through Volano at a lower speed limit, they'll be rerouted most likely, because everybody takes the fastest route, usually. They'll be routed onto to US 1 and 95 to get to points north and south. That trailer park building in accordance with the PUD is not possible. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do at this point, but it had to be a big variance allowed for that one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
One more time. There's many issues in Volano and North Beach.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr.
But there is
Dickinson.
no
We've got to
master
start
plan
over. I'm
for
sorry.
growth.
Thank you so much.
No management. It's not safe.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda LaCerva. I live at 301 Genoa Road in Volano. I'm not going to reiterate a lot of what you heard. You know we have a problem. It's very evident what the problem is and what the concerns are to people there. But just a few more specifics to add to what Cliff had to say, for particularly our audience here who's not from Volano, has had to sit through our lengthy general comments. 14,000 cars do come over the bridge a day. Probably 1,500 cars come to our hotels, our restaurants, Publix, the bars. And St. Johns County parks over 2,000 cars a day on a Saturday in the summer in Volano. Okay, that's 4,000 to 5,000 cars. The reality is there's only one way in and out, and you know that. It's over that Volano Bridge. Last year we increased the number of cars that could go over the bridge from 3 to about 6 to 7. But again, think about it. It's 6 to 7 cars every minute to 2 minutes, and there are 4,000 cars. God forbid there's a bolt of lightning or a clap of thunder, because every single person in Volano decides at that moment they're going to go, and you cannot get over the bridge. And this doesn't include the boat landing that we added some parking to at the base of the Volano Bridge. There are some things that we think we can do. We can restrict the number of cars that can park on the beach. A couple thousand is way too many, because there's only one way in and out. We need to increase our police presence. We don't see them like we did last year. Again, we're not quite at the season. It started early. February 19th was a shock to all of us. It was 90 degrees and a beautiful Saturday in the spring during the North spring break. We could reduce our speed limits in our city, in our area, in Volano, North Beach, Surfside to 15 miles an hour. We need to add some stop signs, and we need some traffic control at the corner of Volano and Coastal Highway at the base of the bridge to get them onto the bridge, and on the other side, because you know people are parking in the intersection of San Marco, and so you cannot get to San Carlo and to US 1. I know it's a lot. I know it's going to cost money. And I know St. Johns County doesn't have some unlimited amount of funding, but maybe we could increase the dollars to pay to park on the beach. We could start ticketing the offenders. The guy grilling the hot dogs, it's nice, but it's not allowed. We could ticket the illegal cars parked on A1A. They are up and down those bike lanes. And maybe give Volano a percent of the bed tax that was collected last year, because at this point, Volano doesn't receive any of the bed tax. I know that you probably are going to say, well, all these things can't be done, some of them can't be done. But credit to you, a couple years ago, we came to you and asked you about the safety on A1A. And we all got together as a group. You said reducing speed limits wouldn't make any difference. But what you did do is put up crosswalks. And that was a tremendous effort on the part of St. Johns County. And it has made A1A safer. So I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tabitha Frost. I reside at 2708 Logia Street in Porpoise Point. I'm also the vice president of Volano Beach Main Street. And as a homeowner and a single mom, the head of my household, I invest over $24,000 each year just in property taxes and insurance alone for my fully paid off home. And those costs continue to rise, but I chose to live here because I was investing in a safe community to raise my 3 kids. But recently that has drastically changed. My neighbors and I regularly witness vehicles speeding through our residential streets and running stop signs as they travel to and from the beach. We've tried placing cones and signs, but they are ignored, stolen, or even vandalized. In my own observations, 9 out of 10 cars run the stop sign right outside of my home on Logia and Manresa, even while a dozen children are playing outside. And with 4,000 cars going to and from Porpoise Point Beach every Saturday, there's at least 4,000 cars passing my home to and from the beach every single day. There are more than a dozen children in our neighborhood, just on my corner alone, who play outside regularly. The volume of traffic and reckless driving has made many of us feel unsafe in our own community. At peak times, especially when beachgoers are leaving, traffic becomes completely gridlocked. I have a photo right here. You can see the bridge and the traffic circle, and nothing moves for good.
There we go. Thank you.
This is 45 minutes of nobody moving. Here's another one as well. This is my street. You can't even get out to go to Publix. Also 45 minutes of waiting. I've watched our mail carrier even get stuck in this same gridlock traffic, and he's trying to finish off his day at 5 o'clock and he can't move. And there are many times when I've tried to even back out of my own driveway and there's cars blocking my driveway lined up bumper to bumper, but they can't even move to get out of my way. Even a quick trip to Publix can be an hour. I can walk there in 4 minutes. But most concerning of all, there have been instances where first responders have struggled to access homes during emergencies due to this congestion. This is not just an inconvenience, it's a very serious public issue, safety issue. We are asking you to take these concerns seriously and work with our community to find urgent, effective solutions. We want our neighborhood and our beaches to be safe for both residents and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Elaine McCarty. I live on 136 Manresa, and I would like to offer a solution to the gridlock in Volano. I think one thing that we can do is to limit the overwhelming amount of cars that are allowed to park on the beach. From March through September, it is all the vehicles are causing traffic problems, but it is also harmful to the beach itself, as we have heard many people say our beach is a slice of heaven. When many vehicles are allowed on the sand, it turns what should be a natural and peaceful shoreline into a traffic zone. Cars pack the beach far beyond what pedestrian-only access would allow. This increases noise, congestion, litter, and causes conflict between the visitors. Instead of a relaxing beach experience, we get gridlock and overwhelmed shoreline. The damage to the environment is undeniable. According to the Florida Fish and Game Conservation Commission, it would be best practices to never allow any vehicles on a beach. But I am not advocating for that. I think driving on the beach is a fun and unique experience, and I think it should be allowed. But beaches are not just recreational spaces. They are living ecosystems. Tire ruts compact the sand, they disrupt the dune systems, and they destroy the fragile vegetation that helps prevent erosion. Oil drips, fuel residue, engine exhaust, and trash left behind further contaminate the habitat. Over time, this accelerates the shoreline erosion, and it weakens the barriers that protect our community from storms. Also, beach driving poses a serious threat to sea turtles. Florida beaches are nesting grounds for 5 endangered species. Vehicle traffic can crush nests buried beneath the sand. Tire ruts trap the hatchlings trying to reach the ocean. More cars means more people, which raises the risk of nest disturbance. And who among us hasn't seen tire tracks and footprints in the areas that are clearly marked conservation zone? Volano Beach should be a sanctuary for our families, a sanctuary for wildlife, and a sanctuary for future generations. I would ask you to please consider limiting the amount of cars that can park on the beach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Pat McCarty. I live at 136 Manresa Road on Volano. We've been residents since December 2020. Since that time, we've seen significant growth in Volano. The Hyatt Place and Holiday Inn Express opened, as well as several tour boats began utilizing the dock near beaches and for tourist trade, such as the Fury, the Red Boat, and several boat taxis. In the near future, more townhomes, houses, restaurants, and an RV park will be opening in the immediate area. I'm very pro-capitalism and improvements to our community, but the infrastructure of Volano Main Street and Porpoise Point community has not changed since the Osina Bridge was opened in 1995. We basically have 2-lane roads everywhere. The traffic from North A1A to access the bridge, traffic from Volano leaving the area from the beach or pier must merge with any traffic coming out of Camachi and the Volano Landing, where you have many trucks with their boat trailers coming out. This leads to a severe choke point at the intersection we call the Peanut on San Marco and May Street. The gridlock I've seen results in visitors, residents, and business employees not getting out of Volano in a timely manner. What should take perhaps 5 minutes can stretch up to an hour, as we've already heard. This leads to short tempers and road rage, witnessed by myself and my immediate family members, and it raises serious safety concerns with regards to people experiencing medical conditions and emergencies. In my opinion, good governance would dictate that a traffic gridlock problem should be resolved in a proactive manner by making changes to ensure the safety of everyone either visiting or living in our area. We've heard a lot of excellent suggestions, so I hope we can take those into account. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Cope, and I live at 137 Manresa Road. And I've got a kind of a personal story I want to reflect on that is very relevant to what we're talking about today. On 2/13/26, I was fortunate enough to call St. John's Medical Emergency Services. At the time of the call, I really wasn't sure what was taking place, but it turns out I was bleeding out of my esophagus in 3 places, and not to be overdramatic, but I was bleeding to death. You know why I'm fortunate? I'm fortunate to be here today. I'm also fortunate that call took place at 9:45 p.m. on a Friday. If this incident would have taken place at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, 3 o'clock on a Sunday, I would have bled to death before I ever got to the hospital. I'm very fortunate that somebody's not here telling my story, that I have the ability to tell it myself. I'm very fortunate that they're not saying, boy, if he would just had that bleed at 9:45 and not 3 o'clock, he'd be with us today. The time of one incident should make no reflection on the addressing somebody's medical care. Whether it's 3 o'clock or 9:45, everybody deserves proper, reasonable medical attention. Sometimes I think we almost live in a hurricane evacuation zone, that if you don't evacuate, we can't service you. The fact of the matter is, on a weekend between 12 and 7, we live in an evacuation zone, that you can't service us. God forbid there's an emergency, you can't service us. We're all here asking today for some reasonable cooperation in addressing this issue. Because I'm glad to be here today. I'm glad my spouse isn't telling the story. I just hope we have this next meeting that we're not discussing somebody's spouse telling the story. We have a problem here. We can all agree on that. We have an enormous problem. It needs to be fixed. We appreciate your attention, and let's take care of this issue so my story is not ever told again. If it ever is, it has a happy ending. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Rick Finchel. I live at 144 Manresa Road. All our neighbors are right now at the same time. But I'm coming to give you an eyewitness account. Everybody heard what happened on February 19th. Let's talk about what happened on February 22nd. Beaches were packed. You had that clap of thunder, and it just emptied. I watched the rescue lifeguard with a firefighter. There was a med call straight down towards beaches. It took them 15 minutes, I timed it, to get to the call. Then it took another 25 minutes for the engine and the squad to show up because they couldn't get through the traffic. I don't know what the outcome of that was, but Dennis brought up a good point. If it happened, and that's what happened, I witnessed, there was no way that that squad or that engine could get down. And I'm very thankful that we had the lifeguard and the firefighter, because all your St. John County firefighters are paramedics. He got to respond, but it still took him 15 minutes to go 5,000 feet. And it's just a grave, grave concern. We're not talking about, is there going to be a fatality that can be prevented? It's when we're going to have that fatality that could be prevented. And I agree, I think, and I live here, been here for a good while, that if we limit parking on the beach, when everybody's got access, that's what caused that gridlock. So I don't know what we can do, but we all got great minds, we can put ourselves together, but let's prevent a fatality. That's all I ask for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Robert Slauson, 2960 Coastal Highway in Volano Beach. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. My wife and I discovered Volano about 15 years ago and moved here for our retirement. And we've enjoyed our time here, and are pleased that others have discovered Volano. In the first few years, it was very sleepy and quiet, and that's one of the things we liked about it. But now it's been discovered, and we accept that. But it's spiraling out of control, it feels like, that we don't have the infrastructure in place. We have regulations, but they're not being enforced clearly. We see some of the growth that's going on unchecked, and it concerns me when we hear that these building developments are going way beyond the scope of the original plan and nobody's monitoring. We say, how are we going to survive here? We're getting old. We're worried about if we have a medical condition like this gentleman comes, are we going to be able to get the ambulance service that we need if that day comes? We see the safety issues on the roads when bicyclists are having to swerve out into the roadway because of cars that are parked and nobody's enforcing the parking regulations. I don't want to reiterate, many have spoken about these issues, but I would ask you, Commissioners, please let's do something about this and see what we can do to keep the quality of life that we've enjoyed in Volano. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Morning. Richard Livingstone, 2741 Loja Street, Volano Beach. Moved here 6 years ago to this idyllic community. Beautiful, beautiful place. I'm never leaving. It's a paradise. These are my neighbors. You've heard their complaints about what's going on traffic-wise. I may have made a mistake. Somewhere along the line, I told two of my friends about how beautiful my place was and the community that I live in. And I think some of my neighbors may have done the same thing. Well, those two friends told two friends and told two more friends, to the point that eventually the word got out. Hyatt heard about it, developers heard about it, and the cat's out of the bag. It's not like it was. Fast forward to the present. From 4 to 7, it's not just weekends and holidays anymore. It's every day in the summer months, from March to September, or from 4 to 7, you don't get in your car. You can't, because it's not just 45 minutes, it's 90 minutes to get out of Volano Beach, to get anywhere. So Don't plan anything between 4 and 7 o'clock. Now, I know a lot of people have complained about the traffic. There hasn't been many suggestions about it. I think that if we had a traffic light of some sort at the turnaround that takes us to the bridge, or if we had actually some manned traffic people involved here. Now, this may be a financial burden for the county, but I have a suggestion for that as well. Conservatively speaking, I'm going to say 500 cars a day on the beach at $20 a pop. That's $10,000 a day. That's $300,000 a month. That's almost $1.8 million in the summer that might be available to the county to help defray some of the costs of having manned people and putting up a few more traffic lights to try and solve this problem. I know it's not unsolvable. I know there's some brilliant minds on the council here that could probably figure a way around this, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Hi, my name's Russell Phillips. I live at 109 Farrell Road in Bolano. And my issue today is the overwhelming traffic jams that are reached typically Saturday, Sunday, and holidays between 2:30 and 6. The problem will be a beach emergency, a fender bender, or a pedestrian hit, and there will be no way that person can be addressed, with the exception of boat or helicopter, because of the congestion of the road at that time. I do believe it is a community beach open for all, and just like the Night of Lights, it's a worldwide event, and Volano Beach's popularity should be handled in a similar way as Night of Lights. Form a committee consisting of key representatives to come together and formulate a plan to create a plan and implement solutions. Use drones in the initial figuring out of where the traffic snags from the North Beach to Porpoise Point up to the Peanut and US 1 to start to identify the congested areas. Make a beach parking app similar to the Night of Lights, identifying full lots or open parking lots all over from Micklers all the way down to Anastasia Island, and assign a traffic guard at those key times, very similar to every school in St. Johns County, where they have 1 or 2 officers facilitating traffic to make it efficient. And I think that should always be done on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday between 3 and 6. That should just be a given. And I do believe these safety issues are serious but solvable. And we just ask that you as the commissioners realize this is a tragedy in waiting and make it a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm reminded of a saying of a well-known football coach from New England who would say, "Do your job." And I look at what you all are doing here, and you have a hell of a difficult job. I look at even your agenda for today. You have multiple agenda items, and I imagine it's very difficult to avoid kind of a whack-a-mole kind of mindset here. You've got issues you just can't possibly predict, anticipate, and you do your best to accommodate a demanding public to address these. I think ultimately the answer, there have been a lot of imaginative solutions here for specific symptoms, but ultimately I think the need here is a strategy to address the root problem. And the root problem, in my mind, particularly in a unique geographic area such as this area between Ponte Vedra down to Volano Beach and the bridge, this very narrow, high-demand area, is to figure out a way to manage the volume. I think what's necessary is a demand management strategy here, a public safety strategy here, which has at its root a way of controlling volume. Meantime, yes, there are all sorts of symptoms that need to be addressed, but ultimately there are a couple dozen plus public access points already between GTM and Volano Beach. Gee, do you have a crossing, a tunnel, a bridge for all of them? Ultimately, I think you need to figure out a way to manage demand. Which brings me to the second specific issue, and that's this so-called RV park. That just adds to demand. That just adds to volume. And my understanding that this was originally proposed 5-6 years ago, arguably under the darkness of COVID, when perhaps it didn't afford the public scrutiny that it deserved. And even still, circumstances have changed greatly since then. My ask here would be take a hard second look at what's going on there. What are the assumptions? What are the design? What's the process look like in terms of moving in and out on a hot Sunday, on a time when a storm is impending? Figure that out, lay that out. Don't wait until it happens to understand. Anticipate, understand the trade-offs in advance, and allow all of us, yourselves included, to weigh in accordingly. I appreciate everybody's time and patience.
Sir, if you could name and address for the record.
Robert Green, 180 Kingston Drive.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Maureen O'Connor, 4260 Myrtle Street, Volano Beach section. I'm here to discuss the proposed RV campground and its potential impact on surrounding communities affecting quality of life, property, and safety. The proposed 170 park model home RV campground directly on A1A from Intercoastal to the ocean seriously and directly interferes with the quality of life and safety of our properties. Traffic. A1A, as you've heard, is a two-lane highway leading onto a two-lane bridge, leading onto a two-lane street, and then the Peanut Roundabout, which is the only form of egress and ingress. Traffic is gridlocked. During the summer season, add at least 170 more vehicles to the picture. Consider the delays in emergency vehicles both arriving and leaving, the potential of loss of life. Safety, evacuation, again, only two-lane highway, etc. That affects the population from Michler to Porpoise Point, add another 70-plus vehicles to that formula. Flooding, nor'easter in 2021, Ian and Nicole in 2022, devastated Volano Beach, Porpoise Point, North Beach, with the main flood waters coming directly from the intracoastal. With mandatory higher elevations and paved surfaces, this mandatory elevation, paved surface, will definitely increase the likelihood of even more severe flooding in the same areas. The water has nowhere to go other than people's property. This is a picture, 16th Street and Volano Bridge after Nicole and Ian. In my conclusion to the board, you must take into account all of the above issues when approving any variance, rezoning, or major development. Safety of citizens must take precedent over developers' profits. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Who's next? Good morning.
Yes, my name is Michael Compton. I reside at 114 3rd Street, St. Augustine, and I'm a 25-year resident of North Beach. There's been quite a few comments, I'm sure, on these various issues, and I think Vice President of Volano Beach and Friends of A1A, so I won't repeat those which have already been presented. I'd like to just tell a story. 4 years ago to this date, on Easter, we had Easter service. My priest, Father Greg Bennett, who lived in Seawatch of Volano, was taking his Monday stroll after Easter, and he was hit behind the Publix, hit by a contractor truck, knocked him to the ground, gave him a traumatic brain injury, and he died 3 days later from that injury. So this is not theoretical. This is not me telling you that I happened to hear or see something that concerned me. This is personal. He was my priest. He was a great man, and we hated to lose him. From the time I moved here, and I'm sure all of y'all probably have heard the old Jimmy Buffett song, strolling down the avenue that's known as A1A. Well, it's not an avenue anymore. This is a hazardous zone. Friends of A1A and NBCA do periodic cleanups on Adopt a Highway. We were out there about 3 weeks ago. I would challenge any of you commissioners or any of your staff to come out there and experience this with us. It is truly taking your life in your hands to do something that's a civic service to this county. So there's, what kind of hit me at a recent meeting, a person who had bought here about 5 months ago came up to me and said, "You lived here a long time. What is this going to look like in 3 years? We've seen some of these changes. Is it going to be RV parks? Is it going to be gas stations, convenience stores, high-rise, multifamily? What's it going to look like?" And I had to tell him, I truly don't know. We need the county commissioners, the board that y'all sit on, to create a vision of the future for this. Only through your leadership and vision can we understand as residents where this is going and how, what it will look like in the next 3 years. I'm not asking 10 years from now. I'm asking 3 years from now, what will it look like? We do not know. So I ask for your leadership on this issue to create a vision for our community that the residents and the visitors could see and appreciate and live with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lee Miller, and I reside at 121 Carcaba Road, also known as the street across from the infamous Blue House that is no longer there. I am coming because I have been in the area for quite a long time. Our family had a place here as early as 1992 in Villages of Volano. We loved it so much. This was my piece of heaven. So we bought a lot on Carcaba and we proceeded to build our home. I will tell you that to build a home at that point, I had to go through a lot of hoops because I do back up to the marsh. So there were a lot of things that I needed to consider as we were building. And believe me, if I had submitted my plans and then changed them midway through my building, I'm sure that there would have been some repercussions around that. I'm probably the caboose of the Volano people. I know you probably hope so, but maybe not. But I am here just to reiterate a few of the points that my neighbors have made. First of all, we are looking for oversight of this RV park. I spoke against it when it first came out years ago. At that point, it was tabled and was not approved when the developer had a big presentation. I don't know how many of you were there then, but it was tabled for a while. Then, of course, it was approved under the auspices of being this RV park. After it was sold, we now have what we have today. I ask you to just consider 170 residences in your own area. That is a lot of things. And if you consider the density of the number of people that will be crossing over A1A to go to the ocean with an average of 2 people per residence, that's 340 people during the day. If it were 4 people, we're talking closer to 700 people crossing A1A to get to the beach. As far as I know, there has not been any proposal as to how that will take place. My neighbor, a long-term resident of Volano, actually fell down and broke her arm trying to cross Volano in dodging the traffic. So again, please consider the request to bring the RV park back under your jurisdiction, take a look at it, and thoughtfully consider what our plans will be going forward. I appreciate your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Sherry Badger, 2772 South Collins Avenue. These people are like the angels singing, okay, because this is going on all over in this town. And you can look at these pictures that I'm fixing to show, and this is what your neighborhood will look like. This is a 4-foot, 6-foot wide deep ditch. It's even with the sidewalk. Well, This is also on Rabbit Hill. Rabbit Hill, I started coming to this county commission complaining about what these people are complaining about now 7 years ago. Yet Paul Waldron died, and now it's going to come to a complete halt in my neighborhood of your county. Your code enforcement does not address it, and if they do, your senior staff squash it. Y'all have a big problem here, and I've been telling you about it. Now, this is what you get. And I'm so thankful that we do have public comment in the morning, because you people need a lot more of this, because you're doing it to the whole town. Some of you are completely devastating this town and neighborhoods. Thank you. God bless, and have a good day.
Thank you. Good
Hi,
morning.
good morning. My name is Jane Norton. I live at 109 Jerez Court, which is over on Porpoise Point. Here today to support my neighbors. We are very much concerned about our quality of life and our safety and the environmental impact that's going on currently with the number of cars on the beach, the gridlocks that we're facing, that type of thing. So we are asking the board for your attention to our concerns and to help us create solutions. That's all I wanted to say today, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ed Raffanello. I live at 103 Zamora Street. I had this nice long speech about traffic, but I think you get the picture now, so I'm not going to bore you with that. What I'm going to give is some possible solutions that I thought about. One is it's hard to regulate traffic on the beach. You'd have to be able to count who's going on, who's coming off. We have multiple accesses. So one of my thoughts was, let's raise the daily rate to $20 or $30 an hour. That'll definitely reduce some people going down there. Keep the current resident rate, annual pass, where it's at. Prohibit on-street parking in the residential neighborhoods. Enforce parking violations with tickets and/or towing. Add more police on the beach and in the neighborhoods to address both moving and drinking violations. I have a perfect view of the beach, and I can guarantee you the no drinking policy is being ignored. On the weekend, have public service officers at the base of the bridge and at the lights at May Street to control the lights and allow more than 6 cars through before the light turns red. Also, I think there needs to be strong consideration for another bridge between Ponte Vedra and Volano Beach, as if a true emergency happened where evacuation was needed immediately, it would be a complete disaster. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Hi. My name is Nancy Watson at sorry, I'm nervous. 311 Coastal Hollow Circle. Anyway, all the speeches you've heard, I'm behind them. Everything they've said, I could have repeated here today, but I'm not going to waste my time with you on it. And all I can say is my husband and I have spent some time down at the Volano coffee shop, and we watched the cars go by. And about, I would say 9 months ago, the speeding on Volano Road was atrocious. And I used to work with the police and fire department, and I see these cars, I'm going, hey, he could get a ticket. He could get a ticket. Where is somebody to come down there and do something? The other day, we were down there watching the cars, and I looked at the sign outside, and it says, no parking from midnight to 6 a.m. Otherwise, you'll be towed. I want to know how many cars have been towed? How many cars have been eliminated? I would bet you, my guess, not one. And anybody who parks there knows it. Nobody's going to tow our car. Don't worry about it. Just park it there. As far as the police department goes and the fire department, I got a lot of admiration for these guys. I worked with them. I know how they feel. And I watched this one car recently. It was a squad car parked behind all of these cars at the on the Volano Road. If he was called to go on a call, could he get out? No, there's no way. Cars were going this way and that way. He couldn't get out. He would be stuck there. And I was wondering, what is he thinking sitting there? I can't get. As for the fire department, these guys really have it tough. If there's a call for an emergency and they can't get there, they're going to panic. I could do this, I could do that, and that I'm losing time. And when these guys come back from a call, you should be there. They're totally different people. They really take it to heart, especially when they lose a child. And I think you should consider all of these things that these people have said today, and what I'm saying with the police and fire department behind you. That's what we need. And we're going to need more of them as time goes on. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. My name is Douglas Clay. I live at 113 Coastal Hollow Circle, Volano. Thank you for this opportunity. What I'm going to speak about is the RV park or trailer park. Actually, we don't really know what it's going to be that's coming up. There's a lot of information rolling around. A lot of it is conflicting, so that makes it difficult to understand exactly what we're going to end up with. I know there's a difference between trailers and campers. I guess you think of trailers as mobile homes. At least that's what I was thinking it was going to be. Either way, they don't play nice on barrier islands during hurricanes. If they're campers, they're going to be wanting to get out, as everybody says. If they're trailers, they're going to be pretty much permanent or very close to permanent. And as I said, they're not going to do well in a hurricane situation. So I think that needs to be considered. I've also heard that this could, if they're going to be trailers, they could be low-cost housing. Would that be operated by the county or some other entity for that? Low-cost housing out on Volano is probably not a good place to locate it because really there aren't a lot of jobs around the Volano area. Most of the people there are retired or older. Let's see, will there be campers there or non-permanent residents living there? As we all know that if you're living in Florida for 6 months or longer, you can apply for residency here in the state, and there's many snowbirds that do such thing. They live up north and come down, stay for 6 months or so, declare Florida to be their residence. So is that somewhat the intention of what's going on here? Infrastructure, I think, has been talked about. The electrical needs, the water needs, the sewer, the plumbing, that who's going to pay for that? Is that some of that burden going to be foisted upon the taxpayers, or is it going to be done totally by the developers of this area? What I have for you is a suggestion. Appoint a committee to be concerned with this particular development, and have that committee with residents from Volano. They should attend all the commissioners' meetings, all the meetings that we're going to have, and be able to bring back good information so there isn't all this misinformation going on, plus be able to bring in concerns from the residents. Thank you for your time. I appreciate listening to this.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Brad Martin. I'm actually not a resident of St. Johns County. I live in Tallahassee, but I'm a safety education representative for Sunshine 811. That is the Call Before You Dig Center for Florida statute for the Call Before You Dig law. April is National Safe Digging Month. I realized when I saw the agenda this morning, I probably should have put in a local proclamation request for the encouragement of the Call Before You Dig
message. Sounds to me like, in listening to the comments, there is a need or going to be a continued discussion on infrastructure, road building, lots of construction, driving over from Tallahassee into Jacksonville and stuff. This area is a literal boom of construction activities. So I urge you guys to really preach the message of call before you dig and damage prevention to our current infrastructure with things that are happening now, things that are going to be taking place. It sounds like we really need to protect the existing infrastructure that already exists. We each wake up every morning and take for granted those vital services that our utilities provide, our water, our sewer, turn on the TV, pick up our telephone, flip the switch, turn on the stove. Gas lines have been cut by excavation practices. And as you can hear, the urgency in some of the voices that you've heard this morning, things tend to get a little carried away or rushed. The one call system in the state of Florida, we take around 2 million plus one call notification. So things are happening, but we really want to encourage our community leaders now. My primary target are the professional contractors and things of that nature. But we're seeing it increase, the urgency, the rushing, the let's get it done. We've got to get it done right away. So we're seeing an increase in the potential violations of the statute as well, which increases the risk for damages and outages, explosions, injuries, potential deaths. So we're really trying to extend our outreach for the educational processes to our community leaders, working to get our law enforcement more involved to help with these violations, because the damage prevention is everyone's responsibility. We want to make sure to include all of the stakeholders. So with that, I stand ready for you folks, for our law enforcement friends, the general public, for educational purposes. I've been doing it for 25 years now. North Florida, the reason I'm here is all of North Florida is my educational territory. So if I can ever be of educational service, please feel free to give us a shout. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie Hunt, Mill Creek Estates. It's great to see everybody here from Volano and about what's going on there. But I like to say that y'all not alone. Y'all not alone. There's the shores here for a similar thing. Too much going into that little area. But for me, I don't live anywhere. Like I said, I live in Mill Creek Estates, which is over there near County Road 208. So yeah, I don't go to the beach. But what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, is this is happening. This is being broken down into certain ways of overdeveloping the little places like where y'all are, because there are money being brought in from the tourism, whether y'all are getting a lot of rebates from the tourism money for that specific area or not. But that's happening throughout the whole county with all the new developments coming up. That's going to increase the population, which it'll be over, because we have infrastructure issues that we're still trying to work on. That, if y'all haven't been following this committee for the last couple of years, because you had Senate Bill 180 get passed, and that's what helped them to shut down some of the changes through the comp plan for 2050, specifically for the developers having their way to do what they want to. All right, and now the House Bill 399, which is like a bait and switch from the other bill for the House Bill 299 and the Senate bill, I forget what that one was focused on developer can have their ways. Developers can have their ways, but that was tossed aside. But at the same time, 399, it also gives developers a lot of more rights than over the public, even the county. Why I say that is we are the county, okay? And yes, ladies and gentlemen, there was commissioners who really didn't want to do anything about that, because their backers are the ones who are building all this stuff. Who's out there doing all that, putting what they want to, all right? So look at it as a whole. If you think it's happening just in your little area, which I hate to hear about it because I'm a Jacksonville boy. We used to come on down, and yeah, Volano was nothing, but it's development. But now, understand it. Commissioners who are backed by big developers, yes, we have them. Do you know them? You probably should. But they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. And that's going to continue on from Volano throughout the county.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Thank you. All right, anyone else before we close out public comment at this time? Good morning.
Oh, hey. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Rodney Dangerfield from, it's Bill Hennessy, 5461 4th Street. The Windswept Acres little subdivision there. And before I get to the Windswept Acres, I need to let y'all know something even more dangerous than the Palmetto Road. That Butler West boat ramp, where you turn in right there where Dollar General is at, it's becoming people are coming out of that Dollar General, and people coming from the north with their boats, and they're blocking the traffic. So the guy with the boat has to hit the brakes, and A1A has got thousands of cars on it now, and they're not realizing that the guy's stopping because people coming in and out of that Dollar General. So they're going to run into that 20-inch stainless steel prop and have serious injuries. I mean, I'm telling you, I walk this dog around that neighborhood. I've been doing it for 30 years. Well, not this dog particularly, but but I'm telling you, it's going to end up being a tragedy. And then once you get on that road, it goes from 26 feet wide right there at the entrance down to 16 feet where you have that culvert with about a 12-foot drop or 12 feet of water. And it's got 3 runoffs on it. So as soon as that tire catches that runoff, you're going in that ditch. And it's like I'm telling you, it's 10 feet of air or 10 feet of water. And it's not a if, it's a when. Because I sat there and watched people have to back out with their boats to let other boaters get in there. And one day, somebody from out of town who don't realize what's going on is going to come down that road and plunge into that culvert right there. And it's going to make front headline news because I've been preaching about it for a while. It'll be 5 years that I've been coming here on May the 18th. On June the 5th, I was at that boat ramp and asked some people if they could pull out of the way so I could get my boat put in. And I come to in the hospital 6 hours later, getting the shit beat out of me. And now I have equilibrium problems, walking in depth perception. Whose responsibility is going to be my disability? Is it St. Johns County? Because those people should have been told there was a recreation man standing right there to move your boat, get out of the way, let other people get in. And I gave away my golf clubs because I can't play no more. See, I ain't got time to get to Palmetto Road. That's another hazardous situation that y'all need to address. And I mean, I used to have good pocket change from playing golf. It was like a second job. I had beer money and all that stuff. But now I can't even ride a bike.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other public comment at this time before we close this out? All righty. Good morning.
Good morning. BJ Kalady, West City of St. Augustine. The failure of the St. Johns County Sheriff to post all mugshots excuses the actions of those arrested. This continues to jeopardize the safety of everyone in St. Johns County. At the March 27, 2026 SABC meeting, we were told the St. Augustine Ponte Vedra and the Beaches Visitors and Convention Bureau main advertising is to New York City. Nights of Lights will end on MLK Day, which is all about money, not quality of life. Commissioners Murphy and Taylor attended this meeting. Taxpayers, residents may not be aware Commissioner Taylor does not live in the city limits of St. Augustine. When districts were created, the county gives District St. Augustine city limits to a commissioner who actually lives in the county and represents the city. If a property owner actually lives in the city limits of St. Augustine and pays city and county property taxes, the effect on quality of life is different than those not living in the city and have a business. Question: what is the actual income of all businesses who work but don't live in the city limits of St. Augustine? This would be an interesting economic study. If that ever got out, we'd see where the problem is. Always remember, cigars can be smoked on county beaches, but not cigarettes. 18 seconds left. Thank you for public comment before agenda items. I'm going to continue to say that until people are elected, and hopefully the ones that are elected will believe in this. And I want to say, white shirt speakers sounds like Nights of Lights problems. Got it everywhere. Perfect example of what we got problems. And what time is it? Look, almost to 10:30, 11. Now, the red shirts have their opportunity to speak for the item that they're here for. And watch that buzzer, folks, because you gotta stay with it when it counts down on you. Because if you're over, there's some people that get excited about some people, and then other people, they don't get too excited. So you don't have to answer any of these people that got up, but I hope, regardless of who the district person is, that all of you got the real gist of what went over.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Laura Freeman. My husband and I own 69 Seaside Vista Court, which is in North Beach. I had notes typed, but I'm going to wing it, so hopefully I sound understandable. We moved to Volano in 2010 when my husband accepted a job with the Florida National Guard. We decided that we were going to retire on Volano. Even we moved away and we knew that Volano was the place we wanted to go. We have children. We used to reside at 104 2nd Street, which is near Cap's Restaurant, and we decided to build in Seaside Vista in 2014. We moved right when my daughter was getting her license because she was going to Ponte Vedra High School and an academy, and we decided that it was our time to get back to Volano, which we love so much. I didn't realize that the first day she got in that car and pulled out on A1A, how scared I was going to be, and how every single day I tell her to be safe when she pulls out on A1A, because cars are coming through the Serenata turn and they are hauling butt, and you have a brief moment to pull out before another car is coming your way. I also have a daughter who has severe asthma. She's had severe asthma, of course, since she was 10 years old, which is about when we moved here. I don't know what that means, but she's had an ambulance come to our home. She has blown a hole in her lungs because of her asthma attack. We have tried to get her to Flagler Hospital, and realistically, she could die. She has had moments where she is life-flighted to a hospital in Jacksonville to save her life. And I just do not know that she would be able to get the help that she needs if she has an asthma attack. Thank God most of hers happen in the winter and when the traffic is not as bad, but still, I worry about both of my daughters. I would like to say we went to Ireland this summer and we asked someone who a local is in Ireland, and they said it's when someone moves to the community and contributes for the greater good. That's when you become a local. I would hope that you would listen to all of the white shirts. I am wearing white plus a sweater, and know that Miss Sasha, who spoke first, she's been on Volano. She's contributed. She is a local. She deserves protection. Imagine if she were your mother. Imagine if my 17-year-old were your daughter, or my older daughter was with asthma. My husband is a helicopter pilot. He works for the Federal Aviation Administration. I just texted him and asked him about landing a life flight helicopter. on Volano in the middle of the mess. And he says, once every development that's planned goes in, you can't. And that should scare us all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Alrighty. Are there any other general public comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment.
Okay, let's go right to agenda item number 1.
I had a few comments.
Oh, sorry.
Through the chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor.
Sorry, there's just no way I can ignore all these white shirts. I appreciate everybody that came out today. I just want you to know that I do hear you. I've been listening for some time. I'd love Mike Roberson to come up for a moment. I do have a question for our legal team. I know we've heard many, many times about bringing back the RV park under our authority. And I would like that to be addressed, because if we could bring it back, I was not on the board when that was approved years ago, but I would like that addressed, because if we could bring it back, we certainly would. But if you could please clarify, also, if you could also clarify regarding the PUD, what was approved, how that has been changed without coming before us again, if indeed that PUD has been changed. Thank you.
Mike Robertson, Director of Growth Management. To Commissioner Taylor's comments, and I'll let legal chime in about whether or not it could be brought back, but I think my comments will inform that. So the RV campground that I think was in discussion here, in public comment rather, is... Oh, I'm sorry. The campground was from the RV, the Beachcomber RV Club, right? This was a PUD that had been modified in 2021, and it granted approvals for 170 RV units. So that is an approved ordinance. That is what's allowed. Staff has looked at this, obviously, with leadership and the legal team because of all the questions to confirm. So that is an approved development from staff's eyes. You had asked, I think, specifically about changes, Commissioner. Repeat your question, if you would.
Well, have there been changes to the PUD? Have there been changes?
Sure. So we've had, I think, 3 small adjustments, and so everybody understands, we have different levels of changes and modifications that occur in a PUD, right? You have a major modification that comes through the Planning and Zoning Agency and you for a determination or decision. Minor modification, it goes, so the level is lower, it then goes to the Planning and Zoning only agency who decides, and then you have what's called small adjustments. So these are things that are tweaks to a development site that happen almost in every development that are minor enough or small enough that staff looks at it and makes sure the change doesn't trip the threshold, as well as anything that was understood and large enough by the board. So we've had 3 small adjustments that have occurred. I don't have all of them in my head exactly what had occurred, but I have looked at them subsequent to their approval from staff.
Okay.
And they did not generate a tripping to the minor modification or major modification.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Through the chair to Commissioner Taylor. So by virtue of the ordinance approved in 2021 and the rezoning, the property is entitled. And so there's no mechanism at this juncture to bring it back before this board. The previous board, which you were not a part of, I understand that, made that approval. So we don't have a mechanism to bring it back to a subsequent board to change an approval.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, because we do hear that quite often, but we don't determine what comes before us. So I just want that to be very, very clear. Great. Well, I thank you both very much. I'm just trying to think what else. No, that'll do it, but we'll follow up on other things. But thank you both very much.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Whitehurst, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I realize this has gone on long, but I think we'd be missing an opportunity not to address some of these concerns. So Commissioner Taylor got the big one. We don't have a legal mechanism to bring this back and fix it. I was on the board. I was the only commissioner who's still on this board that approved that. And this is what they're building is not at all what I saw in the presentation. And so, yes, I've got some feelings about that, but my feelings don't override what my attorneys are telling me is the law. And so I think that they do have a legal right to build what they're building in spite of what my feelings are. And so that's the advice we're getting from our Office of County Attorneys. I wanted to address some of the concerns that I kept hearing over and over during public comment, which are legitimate concerns, obviously. Many of the concerns are about illegal parking in the right-of-way and ticketing those that are parking illegally in the right-of-way. That is obviously in speeding, that is all a function of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. I realize you can't go speak to the sheriff every 2 weeks. He doesn't have a forum. But I had a great experience with the sheriff and some of his executive staff in my district addressing some safety concerns on our roads. And Commissioner Taylor, just as a suggestion, this is the only time we can really talk about agenda items. It might be worth having a town hall in Volano with the sheriff, with Russ Martin, who's over transportation. Greg Caldwell and his public works team were there just to be the subject matter experts on what enhancements, if any, can be made to the area. We had a fantastic back and forth with the community. Commissioner Joseph was there, and I thought it was very productive and constructive. And frankly, Public Works was able to erect an improvement, construct an improvement within a week of that town hall happening. So it was very, very productive. So may want to get together with the sheriff to talk about enforcing some of the existing laws with that. Why can't we use the bed tax to build infrastructure? Because the state statute does not allow us to use the bed tax. There are strictly tailored guidelines for what we can use bed tax dollars for. Widening roads is not one of those uses per statute. We also cannot create a law that regulates how long or how often somebody rents their property. So we went through this back in 2022 for months and months and months, and we learned during those items that we cannot really regulate short-term rentals. If you don't like that law, like I don't, I would recommend that you call our state representatives, Kim Kendall, Sam Greco, Judson Sapp, and ask them to give some control back to the local government, which is what we ask for every year. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Joseph, you're recognized.
Yes. First of all, is there a site plan, a current site plan for the fake RV property?
Through the chair, yes, ma'am. There is a construction plan, the civil engineered plan.
Can we see what their current plan is? Because I haven't seen it in a long time. You don't have to do it right now, but to my office at some point.
Sure,
That would be great.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
The other thing is, could we get a consensus to actually get a immediate traffic plan, like immediately? Like, can they have a helicopter area cordoned off in maybe the Publix parking lot where it's always open for a live flight? Like, immediately coming this weekend or in the next weekend? I don't know. The sheriff really needs to be involved, but I was just wondering, could we get consensus to actually get a traffic plan going right now or look at it before a town hall? Because town hall takes a while.
Without buying from the sheriff, who would have to enact these suggestions. I mean, all we can say is, hey, we'd like to see somebody out there controlling traffic in the intersections, a man.
No, I can't tell him that, but maybe they can come back with a plan, like as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's.
You could certainly ask them. The challenge with cordoning off a helicopter pad is that it's private property. I don't know if they'd give it to us. But but that's a good concern that we have somewhere over on Volana.
I mean, the top of the
we might be able to do
hotel or
something.
something like that. I mean, I don't know.
I'm for that.
Yeah, they do that in
Top of the
Scottsdale.
hotel. Okay.
Who wants to give their house up? Just the roof?
I think they're offering to
Okay.
give the campground up for a helicopter pad.
Yeah.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, thank you. And then
Wait,
we'll wrap.
one last, can I
Sorry.
just, one last
Yes.
thing? I'm sorry. And then the Airbnb ordinance, I know there are other counties that have outlawed Airbnbs. I don't know why we can't do an ordinance like that or look at it in the future. That's it? That's all my comment.
I think I can answer that. The state preempted us a couple of years ago that if we didn't have a plan already in place, that we couldn't go forward with the plan now. It was too late, right? So we don't have the legal authority, according to the state, to now go back and do one for, Commissioner Taylor, you had something else.
Right. Yes, that is correct. In fact, in St. Augustine Beach, they were aware of the state law, and before it was put in place, they actually put things in place to restrict their short-term rentals. Unfortunately, Volano did not do that as St. Augustine Beach did, which is really unfortunate. But what I want to do is I do appreciate what Mr. Hunt said earlier. You each have got to pay attention of what is going on at the state level. He mentioned SB 180. He mentioned HB 399. There are a number of things that are occurring at the state level that literally are handcuffing us from being able to do many of the things that you are asking us to do. So please pay attention to what's happening at the state level. Please reach out to those state representatives. You do have my commitment. I will definitely plan to have a community meeting with the Sheriff's Department. I did actually just have a meeting with the Sheriff as well as FDOT, and we specifically did speak about A1A. So, but I just want you to know, you do have my commitment, and I look forward to having a town hall and discussing these concerns. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Honorable Brandon Patty, please, the floor is yours. Let's go right to agenda item number 1.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Good to be with you. Here joined with Richard from PFM to provide an overview of our investment performance for calendar year 2025. Richard.
All right. Is there a presentation? You can go to the first page. Is there a clicker?
I think that might be something you have to do.
Oh. Thanks.
All the way to this.
All right. Well, I'll start off by saying that Richard Pengelly with PFM Asset Management, and I'm going to give a report on the performance for the county's portfolios for the calendar year 2025. Overall, performance was good both in the core funds, the fixed income funds, which are your operating funds, as well as in the OPEB portfolio. In the core funds, you've got it allocated into 2 separate portfolios, which are aligned with basically the projections for the expenditures for those reserves over time. So one is the 1 to 3 year portfolio, one is the 1 to 5 year portfolio. Your 1 to 3 year portfolio had a return of 5.52% for calendar 2025. The 1 to 5 was 6.24% for 2025. Both exceeded their benchmark and on a relative basis were helped by the decline in interest rates over the course of the year, which increased the value of the portfolios. For your OPEB funds, it was another year, 3 years in a row of double-digit returns. You had a return of close to 16%, 15.93%. It underperformed the benchmark over the course of the year. That's a function of us taking a defensive position about this time last year with the announcement of the tariffs in April 2nd, Liberation Day, which created some uncertainty around the potential impact for several months. Once there was some more clarity around the deals that were being negotiated around the world, the markets actually did very, very well. But for 3 months, given that defensive position we had, given the uncertainty, you had a slight underperformance relative to the benchmark. However, relative to other similar public plans, your performance was in the top quartile. Actually, I think for the year, you're actually probably in the top decile relative to other similar public plans. So very good performance last year. Going through, looking at some of the details, the portfolio was in compliance with your investment policy. And again, your policy is based on state statute, which promotes very conservative requirements and sets the guidelines for what you can actually own in the portfolio. So you're in compliance across the board. In terms of the characteristics of the portfolios, the overall credit quality is AA. The U.S. government's rating is AA+. So again, reflecting the high credit quality nature of the portfolio. Both of the portfolios have yields that are expected to produce about 4 to 4.5% over the course of the year, and that will vary based on market conditions throughout the course of the year, but we're expecting decent performance for the portfolios in 2026. Jumping to the OPEB portfolio, We always talk in terms of percentages. You all, of course, care about dollars. So for the calendar year, the portfolio produced or grew by 6.7 million over the course of the year. And then, as I mentioned, the return again was strong for 2025. So I'll pause there for questions.
I just have one question.
Sure.
I love whole numbers. So in the course of that, our investments over the course of 2025 produced what back to the county in total? Do you know?
In dollars?
Yeah, in dollars.
I don't have the aggregate number for all of the funds. This report just covers really the long-term investment funds,
Okay.
but for the two portfolios, long portfolios, it was 6.2 million for the 1 to 5 portfolio and 17.5 million for the 1 to 3 portfolio.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, that is our report. Pending any questions.
Okay, I see no questions. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. That was a great job.
Pleasure's ours. Thank you.
Good job. Commissioner Whitehurst, you were recognized.
I was just getting ahead of the
There you
next
go.
parte.
Okay, all right. Agenda item number 2 is quasi judicial, so we'll go to Commissioner Arnold. You can go first if you will.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had approximately 40 emails. I also had a meeting with Brad Wester on behalf of the applicant and staff. I had a meeting in the office with Lynn Pagano and James Fee, who are residents in opposition, and staff was in that meeting as well.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Joseph. Oh, I got you. You're recognized.
Also, over 40 emails against, I think I had about 5 or 6 for meeting with Brad Wester and the team, meeting with Lynn Pagano, James Fee, and opposed residents in the team.
Commissioner Whitehurst.
Yeah, I had over 40 emails. I'd say 80% of them were opposed, about 20% were in favor of. Met in person with Brad Wester, the applicant, Joel Rousseau, and our staff here in the office. Met with Lynn Pagano, James Fee, who are opposed here in the office.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, I had well over 60 emails. Majority of those, all but a few, were opposed. I had a meeting with Brad Wester and staff, and then I had a meeting with Lynn Pagano and James Fee, also opposing, and staff.
Thank you so much. I had 47 plus emails, a phone call, meeting with Brad Wester, the applicant, David Beff, Joel Russo, and staff, meeting with Brad Wester, the applicant, and Joel Russo, and staff again, meeting with Lynn Pagano, James Fee, and staff in opposition. I received probably before yesterday, probably about 75, 80% was running against as versus for. I received an email last night with a petition of over 50 people who are up or who are for the tower in that communications. So that's all I have. You're free.
Okay, thank you. Brad Wester, driver McAfee, Hawthorne, and Debanow, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200, Jacksonville, Florida, 32202. Here, Shores Telecommunications Tower, and this is an appeal item. We are appealing the P&Z denial of a special use permit, which was Tower 24-04, to allow for a 170-foot monopole wireless communication tower and support facilities in the St. Augustine Shores PUD, which is Ordinance 1974-16. The PZA erred in denying the special use permit Tower 2024-04. In quotes, transmitter/antenna is allowed by exception in the PUD. The county required processing this as a special use permit because there is no exception process in the county. Typically, a special use permit is only required if a proposed tower is within 250 feet of a residential lot or use, and the tower is not within 250 feet of a residential property, and we exceed that distance requirement per the code minimum distance setback criteria. This is a 5-acre parent parcel. It's on a church parcel located in the business commercial area of the PUD. and not in a residential zoning district or abutting a residential lot in the PUD. The proposed tower site is an 80 by 80 leased parcel on that parent parcel and in a location to allow for the church to adequately build in the future. The proposed tower is engineered and certified with a collapse radius of 40 feet, which exceeds the Land Development Code requirement, and that's actually 6 times the required distance from the nearest residential dwelling as far as the collapse radius. The proposed tower is 170 feet high, and that's 165 feet of tower and then a 5-foot appurtenance, which is kind of a lightning rod, if you will. And that's 130 feet lower than the maximum allowed per the Land Development Code for a monopole infrastructure that is designed for up to 4 co-located users. And the tower will not include a blinking beacon light on top. There are no environmental, wetland, wildlife, FEMA, or archaeological impacts for the property, tower use on the property. And we've included all of that with our original submittal for this application. Here's a location map of the parcel, all familiar with it on the Shores Boulevard. Here's an aerial, and we'll go into further details on all of this. Here's the land use and zoning. The St. Augustine Shores is residential-C future land use in the comp plan, and it is zoned planned unit development. This is just noting the mixture of uses in the PUD. You're going to hear a lot today that it is purely a residential PUD, and it is not. It does talk about the conversion back in the 70s from RS3, RG2, CG, and IW to PUD, and those uses remain today. You can see that there are commercial and business areas in the PUD specifically. Again, St. Augustine Shores PUD is a mixed-use PUD with a variety of uses, including commercial and industrial, as described in this PUD, to complement and serve the residences similar to this tower, which will serve a specific demand and growing residential base. Here is the permissible by exception citation in the code. Please note item H. This is specific to radio or television broadcasting office, radio or television studio, radio or television transmitter, radio or television antenna, and of course, radio television line of sight relay. H describes those uses related to radio and television broadcasting, not necessary telephones or even contemplating cellular service. It's about 10 years prior to the existence of the first commercially available cellular phone. But the antenna was deemed the basis for this special use permit application interview, and here we are. More importantly, essential public services. This is in the PUD. Essential public services may be permitted in any area within this PUD. Those are defined as you see here, things we all know of: water, sewer, gas, telephone or electrical, as we call dry utilities, systems, and similar installations. A cell tower is an essential public service use and provides phone and communications infrastructure as a tower installation, similar to the other uses described in this PUD in the, quote, essential public services section. And I'll go into that in more detail, and may be permitted anywhere in this PUD. I ask for you to consider that. Here is the site plan. It shows the context of the property. The green and the blue are the separation from the wetlands, and the green is the buffer that's in accordance with the rules and criteria for separation. You can see the distance criteria for the ring, which is the 250-foot line. Again, the site plan that we're all familiar with. And then, of course, the 80 by 80 lease parcel, and you can see the landscaping that would be added to this small parcel. This does not mean that the entire 5-acre site will be clear cut for a cell tower. It is specifically cleared for an access road. And then, of course, the 80 by 80 tower parcel itself, as you see here. Here is the proposed tower elevation with the 4 co-locates, 165 feet tall with a 5-foot appurtenance lightning rod at the top. Here are the existing towers. This is a required map for this application, and you can see the varying towers in this circulation. It's 1 mile and 2 mile radius is the requirement to show what other towers exist in the area, and you can see them on there. And actually, we can go into those in a little bit. Here's the photo simulations. You can see, I'll take you through this. This has been supplied since day one we submitted this application, going through the various viewpoints and view sheds of the vista of this tower. Here is the reason why this tower is here. As I've mentioned in the PZA hearing and meeting with the commissioners individually, services like this follow the rooftops, okay? Whether it's commercial, industrial, something to serve the residents. Same thing as cell towers. There is a void of coverage in this area, and I've got my experts here with me. Dave Beff, he's the CEO of Next Tower. He's got 47 years of telecommunications business behind him, and then 32 years specifically in the cell tower industry. And he is the CEO of Next Tower. If there are anything in these slides that need further expert clarification, I will gladly ask him to come up. You can see these several maps that we're providing here showing the coverage layers, the before and after. Clearly the before is no tower and the after is with tower coverage. You can see the void in coverage, before and after, before and after, and before and after. Here's the towers. This is a more detailed map of the 1 and 2 mile rings showing the proximity, 2.3 miles to the northwest, 1.8 generally to the west, 2.08 to the west, southwest, and so forth out to the beaches communities. The applicant affirms that the proposed height of the communications tower is essential to support the design coverage objectives for T-Mobile engineering and co-located services. This, specifically the tower, is intended to provide enhanced wireless service to the St. Augustine Shores, Canopy Shores area and support planned expansion around Moses Creek Conservation Area, as well as in-vehicle coverage. The submitted and reviewed radio frequency study demonstrates that the requested elevation is necessary to achieve optimal signal coverage and performance in the target area. The closest tower to the property is located about 1.8 miles to the west, northwest, which T-Mobile currently utilizes. OCG, Omnicom, which is the county's third-party tower review consultant and expert, has confirmed our coverage prediction models and all of our information as supplied to be substantially accurate per the coverage prediction software. In their report, they take no exceptions to our findings as submitted. Additionally, the tower is strategically positioned on the church property and is adjacent to open space and wetlands to the north and west in the PUD and complies with the county and St. John's Water Management District wetland, buffer, and building setback regulations. Here are the list. Again, the green check marks are affirmation of the requirements for the communication tower section in the code. Talks about uniform standards, natural features, minimize adverse visual and aesthetic impacts, accommodate a growing demand for wireless communication per the Telecommunications Act of 1996, avoid and minimize damage to adjacent properties from tower failure. The zoning district, again, regardless of the zoning district in which the antenna tower is located, any tower proposed within 250 feet of the nearest lot line or any residential zoning district and OR shall be reviewed as a special use. We are still required to be reviewed as OR because the county made a determination that an antenna that is part of the typical radio and television broadcasting verbiage in the PUD warranted this to be reviewed as a special use permit. Notwithstanding the contrary in the code, unguided monopole tower alternative structures shall be located in any residential zoning district. That talks about the county already has prescribed criteria for a tower itself and how it looks, how it functions. Again, if you go to E2 there, in all other zoning districts, not residential, because we are not, this talks about if constructed for 3 or more users, it can be up to 300 feet in height. We are 130 feet less than that. And then it talks about the antenna tower providing co-location technologies, and then of course the base pad and appurtenances measured from the finished grade. That talks about how they measure the height of it specifically. Here's the original, here's one of the plats from the St. Augustine Shores. You see the tract H, the church site specifically there. And this is the site plan that is superimposed over the aerial and describes all of the uses and the surrounding uses in the area. Again, I want you to focus please on the open space tract that is adjacent and abutting our property. Okay, residential is not adjacent or abutting our property. An open space tract in the PUD is. Continuing on, this business commercial segment of the PUD itself, you can see here, the yellow is for church and community, and then commercial across the street. So this area, if you look at the master plan for the PUD, has already been designated for uses other than residential. Here is the distance, and that's from the center line of the tower location. You can see there from the nearest residential lot. What we've done is added additional criteria in there. We're 276 feet plus or minus to the nearest residential lot, but you can see going across the street into other various angles from the different lot lines. Under the FCC Framework and Telecommunications Act of 1996, local governments cannot prohibit or effectively prohibit wireless service. This remote is actually a little glitchy. It's not. Cannot regulate based on environmental or health effects of the RF emissions. Must base denials on substantial competent evidence in the written record. The monopole has been engineered to minimize visual impact through height optimization, neutral finishes, landscape buffering. In the land use planning terms, this represents mitigation, not incompatibility. Visual presence alone should not outweigh demonstrated service gaps affecting public safety and economic activity. We understand visual impacts matter to the community. Our goal is to balance that concern with the documented service need and to implement the least intrusive design that still functions and provides service to the community. Wireless communication infrastructure today serves a similar essential public function similar to water, sanitary sewer, electrical systems, gas, fiber optics, and roads. This is confirmed by the St. Augustine Shores PUD as previously described. The tower provides service for T-Mobile and space for AT&T and Verizon. Those are the three large legacy carriers. Each company provides partitioned space, and this is important, for calls prioritized for public safety. T-Mobile uses T-Priority, AT&T has FirstNet, and Verizon has Frontline. Public safety utilizes these prioritized call and internet capabilities over and above non-public safety use of the carrier's network and specific cell site. For example, the city of St. Augustine uses AT&T FirstNet, and St. Johns County uses Verizon's Frontline. This tower provides normal cell and internet service to the general public, and it is design engineered to assist public safety. Next Tower is communicating with AT&T and Verizon to lease the space on this tower. They're very interested if this were to be approved. The public safety entities utilize their own 800 megahertz trunked radio communication system owned by St. Johns County. For example, in St. Johns County, if a public safety radio does not have coverage, it will revert to the nearest Verizon Frontline cell site and provide such. The tower is designed to provide this essential service. The proposed tower meets or exceeds every measurable criteria in the St. Johns County LDC. Denying this application on subjective grounds would create inconsistent enforcement. The denial order is an effective exclusion of wireless communication facilities in the St. Augustine Shores PUD, and there exists no explicit prohibition in that same PUD. In fact, the PUD states essential public services may be permitted in any area within this PUD, defined as gas, water, sewer, telephone. So in 1974, they contemplated telephone. 10 years later, cell service came online, or electrical systems and similar installations. The denial includes summary determinations without explanation or justification, determinations that were not relied on by PCA members, and determinations that were unsupported by competent substantial evidence. There is no testimony as to why the proposed tower conflicted with the residential C land use designation, nor did the PCA member delineate any reason for such a finding. Additionally, the denial order did not make any factual findings from the evidence presented, but instead made conclusory determinations regarding the criteria. Res C, or residential C future land use, does allow for neighborhood community commercial uses to support the residential base. The denial order makes several determinations, generally based on the proposed tower's incompatibility with the surrounding area. Many PZA members adopted the viewpoint and subjectively opined that the entire St. Augustine Shores community is residential. And as a result, the cell tower would be incompatible, mainly because it's visible during the day. Such analysis is an effective prohibition of wireless communications facilities in the residential area, which is prohibited under the federal and Florida law. This viewpoint is also ignored the uncontroverted evidence that proposed tower is located on a non-residential property, which is, again, I went through it, Zone Church, including the specific lease parcel for the proposed tower, which is more than 250 feet away from the residential lot, which is the criteria to be held by required for the separation distance criteria in the St. Johns County LDC. In closing, In all, the denial order is an effective exclusion of wireless communication facilities in the St. Augustine Shores neighborhood. The denial order includes summary determinations without explanation or justification. Determinations were not relied upon by PZA members, and determinations that were unsupported by competent and substantial evidence. Testimony in opposition of the application was general, not fact-based, but subjective and speculative. Wireless infrastructure today is considered essential public infrastructure. Reliable connectivity supports emergency response, business activity, and everyday communications for residents. Denial of this facility would leave a significant service deficiency unresolved, affecting public safety and the broader community, including the newer residential phases underway in the area. Our goal is to balance the community's aesthetics with critical infrastructure needs. We are committed to working with staff and the board on reasonable conditions that further reduce visual impact without compromising the facility's function. And with that, I have my experts here. If you need any questions, but timeliness, I'll wait for my rebuttal period.
Thank you so much. I just have one question. In determining the site, the site, is there something that might be more compatible, and maybe compatible is not the word. What am I looking for? Is there another site that might work that would move it out of that particular area that might be considered like closer to the south, near the?
Well, we deal with several factors on that. We just don't choose one site. We started this process over 2 years ago, and we don't just pin on one site. We have multiple that we're vetting at any one time. This one, I don't recall the exact number, but I've been involved with towers, and it's usually between 5 and 10 different sites. And you select them based on where the RF engineers and the legacy carriers tell you to go, based on where that void in that coverage is. So they already give you a precise location saying, we need to provide service here because there's a void there. From that, we go hunting for parcels, and we make phone calls, we do mail outs, we knock on doors. It's really like many other industries when people are looking at new development or new parcels to build on. And in fact, no different than any other item, we put all of those different parcels to test. Conceivably, could there be another parcel down the street that works because maybe nobody would see it as well? Yes. But does that mean site condition-wide it works? No. There are wetlands, there's floodplain, there's accessibility issues, there's elevation issues. So there are different factors where you start checking those boxes on what really works and what passes all the tests. And this site was one of those. Not only providing the coverage layers that we need per the engineering, but also the fact that there are zero impacts on the property. No legacy trees, no floodplains, no wetlands, no bugs and bunnies. We are not on a residential parcel. In fact, we're not even abutting or adjacent a residential parcel. So being in the commercial business district, it checked all the parcels for this site specifically. And then we had an end user, or as we are a leased parcel on the parent parcel, we had a parent parcel owner that was willing to discuss all of those opportunities with us. So even if another site checks the box, there may not be a participatory person that wants to sell that property to us or lease that property. And this checked all the boxes right now. And so we have looked at many other sites. Unfortunately, you find an ideal one, it just doesn't work with the engineering coverage.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Whitehurst. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wester, you gave us a lot of information pretty quickly, which I always appreciate. You know, you're getting through the presentation as quickly as possible. But just getting a flavor for the emails that were opposed to this use, not all of them were, but those that were. And I get the sense we're going to hear a lot of this in the public comment that's forthcoming. Make the case for compatibility, because a lot of folks don't think that this is a compatible use. You have the burden of proof. To prove to this board that it is in fact a compatible use. Please, restate maybe what you've already touched on and go a little bit more into detail about why you think this is a compatible use.
Well, it's a compatible use because we meet the test for all the criteria in the code. We check all the boxes in the code for meeting that criteria. If we were within 250 feet, I think we'd have a further debate on whether it was compatible or not. But there's already prescribed data and criteria in the code that we adhere to. We check all those boxes. One thing that what you do in this case is there's no prohibition in the PUD explicitly that says towers are not allowed in this PUD. It allows essential service public communications infrastructure, and it allows other elements through an exception process. And we've already described those. That exception process specifically talked about radio and television broadcasting infrastructure and antennas and things like that, and relay. We believe that this is an essential service, communications infrastructure, that obviously through time just was never really updated, nor did it needed to be in the PUD. The PUD does address communication infrastructure, and it specifically cites telephone. So we believe we are part of that because, again, this was a decade before that cell coverage came online. But compatibility comes down to what are the impacts. As I addressed, this site will not have a blinking beacon on top. It's not painted because of its height with red or orange and white stripes. Does not have guy wires. It's not a lattice tower. It is already uniformly in context with the county requirement for the coloration and the monopole type. And then we're also 130 feet less than the required amount or the allowed amount because of 4 co-locates there it could go on it from a structural engineering standpoint. Likewise, there's almost zero traffic besides every once in a while a maintenance person showing up to check on the generators and the site itself for security. There's no noise associated with this whatsoever. And there's no environmental as we went through it. So no wetlands, no wildlife, no issues from that. So from a intensity standpoint, it is about as low intense as you can get. The only element that you're going to hear about today is the visible aspect, the vista of it, right? You're going to see it sticking over the trees. And so there are options. Could you do a different type of pole? And I think we had this discussion with Commissioner Joseph. She asked, can you do one of those really large flagpole type things without the appurtenances on top and the different communications infrastructure up top? And we've looked at all of that. And we look at all that before we ever go on this property. So we looked at various things to even be more stealthy from a visual standpoint. You're only ever going to see this tower during the day. It's not going to blink at night. There won't be lights on it. And so that visual element is something that I almost tie to when you drive through your development and you see a sanitary sewer lift station, right? They have communication towers sticking out of the top. There's some other things that could be deemed aesthetically unpleasing by the community, but that are vital communication infrastructure or vital essential service infrastructure in that same community. And this is certainly one of those. So compatibility, it is compatible. If there were an essential service that required a tower and the county deemed that they wanted to put their own tower up for essential services based on that clause, it could go anywhere in the PUD. If the PUD wanted to prohibit this based on a specific height or anything else in the future based on technology, and we're talking about technology today because this is cell coverage, then that would be prohibited or outlawed in that PUD. So from a compatibility standpoint, this is not a 100% residential PUD. You're going to hear a lot of that. And so this is a mixed-use PUD. It does allow for varying uses. I have personal experience in here representing other matters. And they weren't even towers. They were single-story structures, both one building, a single-story structure, and then a organic plant nursery that had very low-intense uses. We had a lot of opposition for that as well. And so you can see that, but those are not more than 25 feet high. So the aesthetic element of this, one day a church is going to go here, and if it were not already zoned for church, I think we'd have the same amount of people showing up opposing a church campus potentially being built on that 5-acre property because it's something new, and they can see it from their backyard, right? So the visual aesthetics of this means are we in you're going to hear this a lot, we're in the middle of a residential area or my backyard, and it's just not true. The adjacency factors are what's adjacent to us is open space, not a residential lot. So because this PUD does allow for a mixture of uses, and it doesn't prohibit a cell tower or any type of other tower, it just asks for you to go through additional criteria for review. We've met every criteria in the land development code for this tower, including the separation requirement. So that would be my item for the compatibility element. The compatibility element is really subjective. It's only based on the visual aesthetics of it because someone can see it.
Anything else? Commissioner Joseph, you recognize?
Yes, the one picture showed the property, the commercial part being real long. You can't move the tower farther down away from the neighborhood?
Well, we only have a 5-acre parcel that is our parent parcel that we're
Because you
dealing
showed
with.
kind of all the yellow.
Yeah, that's different, owned by a different entity.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that is. And
All
so
right.
there are other parcels in that area that are under different ownership. And of course, we've initially vetted all those. But this landowner certainly was a willing participant to be a part of this. And so we have that 80 by 80 lease parcel as part of this property.
Okay, it can't be a relay. Chuck Lebanowski has pictures of different relays that are on top of poles, like,
Yeah.
your lights, where they just don't look like a tower. You can't do a relay system there?
Yeah, and PZA board member Lebanowski brought that up in the PZA hearing as well. And I'd like for Dave Beff to come up if you don't mind, because he can elaborate a little bit more on this. He's the CEO of Next Tower. So the way those work, they do require a lot more of those. So one tower provides the broad coverage of service that's required per the engineering, the void in that coverage layer. But if you were to do those smaller towers, as everybody says, typically on top of light poles or anything else, that typically would be, you need a lot more. You'd string those up all the way down the street, and they need to hand off to each other within a direct line of sight. Let's see, is Dave coming up? Oh, there he is. So this is Dave Beff. If you just name and address for the record, and then explain a little bit more to Commissioner Joseph on the why we're using this cell tower infrastructure on this property. And then Commissioner Joseph also brought up the flagpole, the thick flagpole. And Mr. Beff will explain why.
And one other question when he comes up here is,
Yeah.
how long until satellites replace all the poles everywhere? Because Starlink's already doing it.
That's a great question.
Okay, thank you. Just if you could address that.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is David Beff, 905 Northwest 56 Terrace, Suite A, Gainesville, Florida, 32605. I'm CEO and President of Next Tower. As record, I've been a tower developer for 32 years. I've been in telecommunications, a total of 47. We've built over 15 sites over the years here in St. Johns County. We've built hundreds of towers, basically between Orlando and Atlanta. So we bring a lot of experience in here. So in regard to your question, Madam Commissioner, the type of antennas, what you're talking about is what we call a unipole, and that's where there's one solid pole, all the antennas are mounted within it. Sometimes it can put a flag on it, or it's a flagless flagpole, which is the unipole design. And it was very prevalent during the 1G, 2G, 3G kind of era of cellular, when the antennas were much more limited, the radios were on the ground. Now, with 5G, much bigger antennas, more of them. The radios are no longer on the ground, they're up on the tower in order to provide optimal signal for data for the use. And the bottom line is, if I could have a pile of the antennas and show you the mounts sitting over here and show you basically a canister, it's 11 feet long and about 52 inches diameter, it can't fit. So the carriers now are no longer wanting to go on unipoles, and we have a national build-a-suit with T-Mobile. We have not done a unipole probably at least 10 years. So if you want 5G coverage, you've got to have the amount of antennas at the proper height. As Brad had mentioned, when we get a search ring from a carrier, it's a specific point, a latitude, longitude, and then usually, depending on where it's located, we get a certain radius that we have to go out and find properties. In a populated area, typically it's about a quarter-mile radius. So we're pretty restricted as far as what will work from an engineering standpoint. In this instance, the tower is designed for T-Mobile, for AT&T, and Verizon. And a couple things have happened since I've been developing towers. In 2012, there was a national agreement with AT&T for FirstNet. FirstNet is a prioritized system on every AT&T site. So like if you and I were trying to access it with our cell phones and a public safety or first responder was trying to use it, they get the channel first. So that's a national program. In 2021, Verizon came out with their own called Frontline, and they have the same. In fact, St. Johns County, that is their backup system for their 800 megahertz communication system. The city of St. Augustine, for example, uses FirstNet on the AT&T system. T-Mobile, kind of late to the game, but they've come up in September of 2024, and now they offer that same type of service. The only reason probably that the county or the city do not use it is because those contracts were probably prior to when T-Mobile had this service availability. So the big thing on this tower, and again, I've developed towers just for public safety. In fact, I bid on all the towers when this was done, 10, 15 years ago with St. Johns County, and I'm very familiar with every location, is that a lot of times people will say, well, there's communications tower for public safety, and then there's cell towers, and they're different. I beg to argue that point because the county leases space on their towers, even though they're primarily for public safety, for cellular. Cellular, on the other hand, recently, now their systems provide for public safety, each one of them with those partitioned accessibility for first responders. I know where a lot of these towers are because, again, I bid on every one of them back when. And if you look at the locations versus residential areas or PUDs, there's one at Scott Road. There's one right next to Cimarron. There's one right across about 2 miles due west of us right now of the proposed site on the west side of US 1 right next to a subdivision. And I can keep going with the different locations and where they're, and the bottom line is this. Yes, people don't want them in their backyard, but I'd be willing to bet, especially with everything we've heard earlier today about public safety and access and first responders, this is absolutely part of that. And we could probably say and argue prior to 2012, before FirstNet came out with this, you'd say, no, this is just for recreational use or, surfing the internet or whatever. It's not. Can it provide that? Yes. But this is also important criteria for public safety's use. And your own county and city are using these. Now, our anchor tenant is T-Mobile. Right now, none of the agencies are on that right now. But the tower is designed for all three. We have T-Mobile in tow. Right now, we're talking to Verizon, we're talking to AT&T, but until we're approved, those conversations aren't going to go any further, but the tower is definitely being designed for it. Also, one last thing I want to point out is those locations, just a few of them that I'd mentioned on the public safety side, they were designed for one specific reason, coverage for public safety. I'm not talking about my cell towers, I'm talking about the 800 megahertz system, to use that as an example when that went in. And those locations, they didn't take into consideration properties, values, aesthetics. It was what worked best for public safety, period. And I argue with us, yes, we're concerned. We believe the monopole is the least obtrusive design to be able to accomplish what we're trying to do. But please remember first responders, because these towers are absolutely part of that.
Well, my only comment is also that, my comment though, excuse me, is that a lot of the PUDs already say where they're going to be. And so when you buy your house, you know that that's going to happen possibly. So I think it's just such a surprise to people down the road that have been there for years and years and years. So that's all I have to say.
I understand.
Explain the putting the little tower handoff ones, the small cell ones, on the street lamps.
Yeah, so there's what the T-Mobile, there's a type technology called small cell, and then there's also one called mid cell. T-Mobile is the only carrier of the three national carriers that have mid cells, which are 60 to 80 foot towers that are allowed in the right of way by right with no public comment, with a lot of the requirements that you have to go through for a macro tower, which this is, you do not have to do for those. And the problem with those is they cover, first of all, the trees in a lot of instances are taller than them, so if they only work on a line of sight basis, you're looking at about an 800 to 900 foot radius coverage with one of those. So you're going to have basically the highway dotted with those. In fact, there are some instances where there's been complaints from the public and from residents that they're literally in their front yard, because a lot of people's yards unbeknownst to them, have a right-of-way where their mailbox may be, or their culvert may be, maybe a right-of-way. Well, those right-of-ways are game for small cells and mid cells to go in without public hearing because they're allowed by right. And so we argue that this macro tower is going to eliminate that possibility, which would be even more intrusive because there would be so many more of them.
Anything else from the board before we go to public comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Taylor, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you could go back to the photos, can you please share with me a photo of once all the other carriers are on it, what will that look like? And the whole thing, the one that you had shared was a little bit hard to see, but I want to see what does it look like with once all the carriers have what they need on there. I don't know if you have a picture of another one that you have somewhere.
You didn't answer the satellite question.
Oh, yes, and then as she mentioned, answering the satellite question.
So this is the elevation picture. So this is the elevation picture of those 4 units that are on that, basically showing the co-locations. Again, Brad And
Michael,
then,
do you have a photo? That's just a sketch, like a photo of what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I don't. This one, it has the single user right there. That's one of our photo sims. So you can see that single user. There'd be at least 2 others under that because there's 3 carriers, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. So there'd be 2 others underneath that.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Do you have a photo with all of them on it?
I do
just the
not.
one?
No,
Okay.
this proposal is only for this, but it does allow for co-locates by rule in the code. Dave, you want to come up? And I also want to show this image. Dave mentioned a tower that's about 2 miles to our west.
You can put that in the middle if you want to.
And so I'm going to just show it to you, and I just want to get him to confirm.
In regard to the question about satellites, right now, is satellites, in the future, 20, 25 years down the road, is it possible today from a technological standpoint? Yeah, but there's a little problem. One is penetrating buildings and rooftops without having a stationary antenna. One is cost, one is capacity, because a cell tower, for example, radiates about a mile and a half, depending on the height of the tower, depending on where it's located, what the signal's having to fight through, whether it's a building or whether it's trees or what have you. Satellite cannot today replace terrestrial infrastructure. The other part of this is that carriers have literally hundreds of billions of dollars each invested in it. So even when a new technology comes out, you just don't go running to it. And today's technology, it'll work in extremely remote places where there's no road, there's no access. Believe me, probably this rescue operation that just happened recently in Iran, a lot of satellite communications happening there. But it's a different type of communications than what the normal public uses. And I say we're pretty far from that.
Thank you.
Brad Wester, Driver McAfee. Dave, is this the site that you're referring to? There's 2 towers there. I believe one of them is a 250-foot lattice tower. The other is a 198-foot lattice tower. And those are right here as I'm pointing.
Where?
These two locations.
Where are we?
This is within the 2-mile ring to the west of our proposal site. You see this neighborhood here, which is the Timber Creek. That is a neighborhood that was built within 300 feet of that tower. All of those, several phases of that residential neighborhood, hundreds of lots, all developed within 300 feet of that existing tower that was there. So compatibility works both ways. Compatibility works, towers do fill a need, but at the time, these were towers that were created years ago, decades ago, and then this neighborhood was built up right against it. And of course, you can see it, and I'll show an image. Yep. Here's coming, this is from one of the streets. This is this row of house, part of the row of houses I just showed that are highlighted. There are the 2 towers in question, both lattice. And then here's the other residence that is in that same neighborhood. And those 2 lots are this lot here and then this lot there. So those two lots were designed, built, and sold within about 300 feet of two towers and larger than our tower proposal. So residential clearly has been built up into against that area where the towers are sited on this proposal, that I just showed in this exhibit. And of course, I'll enter that into the record, but we may need to refer to these during my rebuttal. So thank you.
Yeah, one of the things about that is that people looking at their house could actually see that there was a tower there before they bought. So that's a challenge. Is there anything else that we need to come from the board? Any more questions before we get to public comment? And I didn't say that for reaction. I just wanted to point that out because we understand that point, but they have a right to be here, and so let's be cool. All right, let's go to public comment. Now's your turn.
Okay. At this time, we will take public comment on agenda item number 2. Please come up, and if you do have something to show, please use the middle podium.
And through the chair, just a reminder for this item, we do have some designated speakers.
Yeah, forgive me for that. We have speakers. Ms. Kaladi's here. We can let her go first, and then we'll get to our public speakers.
BJ Kaladi, West City of St. Augustine. I have to leave. That's why I jumped up here. I can get it done in a second. Just listening to this, I just want to say, uphold the denial of the PCA. And if you don't mind, if you can today or you can't, this is really important. Whenever you meet with these developers and whoever they're employed to get things done, can you start telling us, the public, how long your meeting is, whether it's 15 minutes, an hour, or 2? And we've been on this since Mr. Wester got up from 11:10 to almost 11:55, and I'm sorry that I have to leave, but I think it would be good for the public to understand that's part of your job, granted, but I think sometimes there's more when you have face-to-face than whenever you get an email, and I know you're bombarded by them. So would you please think about that, because we've already spent an hour almost with him, and it's going to be longer too, and I'm sorry I'm going to miss this, but I do appreciate you allowing me to get up here now, because I think this should be denied. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So at this time, we were going to go to our designated speakers, and the first will be Mr. Ronald Moody, and he has 10 minutes.
And before you start that, I just want to remind everybody, if you've signed a petition to allow someone to take your time for you, then you don't have the ability to then come up and speak for 3 minutes later on. So thank you for that.
So I get 10 minutes?
Yeah, she's going to work that out.
There we go. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ron Moody. I'm a full-time real estate appraiser for the last 53 years of my professional career. I'm also a real estate broker with the state of Florida, and I'm a state certified general appraiser with the state of Florida. Very active in the Appraisal Institute, in the Appraisal Institute, which is the largest, most well-known appraisal organization in the world. I hold the MAI designation that signifies member of the Appraisal Institute. I also have the SRA designation, which signifies senior residential appraiser. I have copies of these certificates that I'd like to present for the record. So today, my opinion and testimony will be this. The proposed cell tower is not compatible with existing uses or with the general character and aesthetics of the area. At the end of my presentation, my evaluation opinion will be this. The proposed cell tower will, in my opinion, have a detrimental and significant impact on property values. Now, I base this opinion on the following items. As an appraiser, we have to go to the marketplace, talk to individuals that are in the market, the buyers, the sellers, the lenders, the developers, and whoever, and collect that information. There's also a lot of published information that is available through the internet. It's very easy to search. But I have looked at a lot of information. Number one, published articles. Number two, I've interviewed real estate brokers. Number three, I've interviewed developers. And then I also have empirical evidence from my own database with my appraisal company. So let's quickly go to published articles. And please forgive me for reading some of this, but I want to get through it quick. Published articles. From the Appraisal Journal, this was the summer of 2005, it states, 38% of the control group said a cell tower would reduce the price of their property by more than 20%. Another article that I found, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, this is HUD. It classifies cell towers as hazards and nuisances. Goes on to say, homes in close proximity often experience a decline in value. The decrease in property values can be as much as more than 20%. Now from NAR, the National Association of Realtors, recent article 2024 says this, the results show a significant impact that the proximity of cell towers have on residential property sale prices and values. However, the impact of cell towers' proximity on residential property prices and values depends on their distance from the residential properties. The closer a residential property is to a cell tower, the greater the impact that the cell tower will have on the selling price or value of the property. Kind of a logical argument. Another organization which I was really interested in was Environmental Health Services. They did a research brief and they came up with this. They entitled their brief, Cell Towers Drop Property Values, Realtor Evidence and Published Research on Market Impacts. They posed two questions, make 2 points. They asked this question, would you buy a home near a cell tower? The realtors say visible towers can cut home values by up to 20%, with surveys showing 94% of buyers said they would pay less or avoid such properties. Number two, regulatory filings by the FCC, by counties and coalitions representing over 1,800 communities warn of cell towers' significant negative impacts on aesthetics, the beauty aspect, and property values. They consulted with an appraiser, state certified general appraiser, David Borgon, and he makes this statement regarding realtors and cell towers in relation to homes. Buyers are extremely hesitant to purchase homes located near cell towers, and in many cases, homes next to towers take longer to sell and ultimately sell for less. He goes on, his opinion was this. In my professional experience, a visible cell tower in close proximity to a property can reduce its value by as much as or more than 20%. He goes on to say, he reports that realtors on cell towers, it says this, cell phone towers bring extra tax revenue and better reception to a section of the city, but many are skeptical because of the impact on property values. Increasing numbers of people don't want to live near cell towers. In some areas with new towers, property values have decreased by up to 20%. The next point they make, an overwhelming 94% of home buyers and renters surveyed by the National Institute for Science, Law, and Public Policy say they are less interested and would pay less for a property located near a cell tower. Interesting information. Next thing I did was I interviewed realtors. You'll probably recognize this name, Mr. Bill Watson. Watson Realty, largest privately owned realty company in the state of Florida, 51 offices, 1,400 employees. But he says this, I'm going to quote him. He's been in business over 50 years, like me. We have consulted on a variety of different issues over the years, but he says this, cell towers, in his opinion, is a negative feature that will cause a diminution in value. He goes on to say, buyers want quiet enjoyment. They want to avoid negative situations. He was astute enough to say this. He said, Ron, cell towers are a lot like billboards. People don't want to be looking at a billboard or maybe a railroad right-of-way. They don't want to locate right next to a railroad right-of-way or overhead power lines. They try to avoid being too close to an overhead power line. And it's because these are non-compatible uses in relation to residential real estate. Causes the diminution in value. Another prominent realtor that I interviewed was Jan Shields. Jan's been in the business over 40 years, and she says, well, yes, there is a negative effect because of cell towers. And I'll quote her, if given a choice, a buyer will typically pick a home without a cell tower. All right, so then I went over to interview land developers. One guy I talked to was Mr. Robert Porter. Robert Porter is the big land man for D.R. Horton. He's likewise, like me, has been in the business over 50 years. And what he said was this.
Talk into the mic.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Porter said this. Cell towers can and most probably will have a negative effect. He says the variables are this. The orientation of a cell tower in relation to the property. Does it have a direct view, a side view? What's the distance? Obviously, when they're closer up, it has more effect. When they're further away, it has less effect. Kind of a logical thought. I talked to Alex Safakis. Alex Safakis is out of the Jacksonville area. He's one of the bright and shining stars as a developer. They do a lot of commercial stuff, a lot of residential, et cetera. But he says that cell towers can have a negative effect, a diminution in value. He offered this. I didn't suggest it, but he said that the cell towers can cause a diminution, loss in value, between 2 and 20%, depending on how close they are. I also talked to Andy Allen. Andy Allen is another developer. He owns corner lot development, and he just clearly says, no, we have to work around cell towers. They're a negative feature. He said they decrease the value. All right, then the last thing I did was from my office, we collected a bunch of information. Some properties very close, visually very close to a cell tower, others further away. And the decrease in market value ranged from 2 to 26%, just depending on where they were located. So in summary, what I would say is this. As I've collected the information, as I've talked to a lot of different people, as I rely on my own experience, my opinion is this. The cell tower will, in my opinion, have a significant negative effect on nearby and adjacent residential property. Okay, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Thank you very much. Okay. Next, we have Elizabeth Scott, and she's a designated speaker that's been given 5 minutes.
Yeah, let me interrupt folks just a minute. This particular issue is what's known as a quasi-judicial hearing. This would be like you're in a court. So if you would keep your applause down so that you don't influence, impede, or disrupt the hearing. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Michaels, and I've been a Florida licensed realtor since 1999. I've worked in residential real estate in St. Johns County for over 20 years, more recently with a focus on the St. Augustine Shores community. I have provided my real estate license to be entered into the record, and I'm here today to offer my professional opinion as to why the proposed 170-foot cell tower should be denied. Based on my experience in this specific market, the proposed tower is not compatible with the surrounding St. Augustine Shores residential neighborhood. And it will have a direct negative impact on property values, marketability, buyer behavior, and the neighborhood aesthetic. This is also supported by national and international recognized studies, as previously mentioned, including those summarized by the National Association of Realtors. that reports buyer resistance and price declines of up to and more than 20%. The Sandy Bond study and FHA insured mortgages HUD classifies cell towers as hazards and nuisances, and appraisers are required to make adjustments accordingly. From a market perspective, value is determined by what buyers are willing to pay, and buyers consistently discount homes near towers. 94% of buyers would pay less for a home near a cell tower. Many buyers eliminate properties even before scheduling a showing. In today's digital environment, online listings and drone photography are critical in marketing homes. A 170-foot tower becomes a permanent visual objection, which is extremely difficult, if not impossible, for a realtor to overcome. This is not theoretical. The proposed tower is located directly on Shores Boulevard, with homes immediately adjacent and across from the site, and within the visual and market field of a residential community. From a real estate perspective, buyers will encounter the tower immediately when entering the area. It will appear in listing photographs and aerial drone photography, and homes within this visual field will be directly impacted in value and desirability. A 170-foot tower within the visual field of a property becomes an immediate deterrent, often eliminating a home from consideration before the showing is even scheduled. This is not speculative. In practice, this translates to reduced buyer interest, longer days on market, increased price reductions to overcome objections, lower appraised values when compared to similar homes without such proximity. Beyond individual homeowners, this has a broader implications for the community. Affected homes that struggle to sell impact neighborhood stability. The long-term desirability of the community can decline. And finally, the Shores neighborhood was developed about 50 years ago, and part of that intention was to really maintain the canopies and the vistas that exist within the neighborhood. And finally, in denying the location does not prevent service. It simply requires that the infrastructure be placed in a less intrusive and more appropriate location. I've yet to see evidence presented that this is the least intrusive alternative. And in closing, as a real estate professional working in this market, I can say with confidence this proposal will reduce property values, deter buyers and reduce showings, create a lasting visual and market stigma, permanently compromise the aesthetic character, degrading the visual integrity and appeal of the Shores neighbourhood. I respectfully ask that you uphold the denial, and I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration this morning.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have Jody Caputo, and she also has been allotted 5 minutes.
Good morning, I'm Jody Caputo with Round Table Realty. I've lived at 87 Vera Place in the Shores, Sable Estates for almost 2 years now. I'm a full-time agent who's been in the industry for over 20 years. I've held realtor licenses in 3 states, broker's license in North Carolina, and I've been a member of the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors since 2008. I'm in strong opposition to this tower for several reasons. Most importantly, as a real estate expert, I've seen firsthand how they can negatively affect properties. There's a term in my industry called external obsolescence. This is widely used among realtors and appraisers when there are negative factors noted that are outside of a property owner's control. And this affects desirability, marketability, and results in a loss of value. A nearby cell tower is a prime example of that. I can tell you without hesitation that none of my buyers have ever wanted to live near a tower. I've seen homes sit longer on the market